The intention of justice is to see that the guilty people are proven guilty and that the innocent are freed. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are taking a look at this case from a psychological perspective.
Michael Proctor, the disgraced Massachusetts State Police trooper, doubles down on his defenses in the federal case.
One or more of these 10 people has to be the killer of John O'Keefe. That's how easy this is.
Now, Karen Reed has filed a document in a different court indicating that she is going to file yet another civil case.
Perhaps the question alternative easily met this burden if the officers had been mere body witnesses. But under these circumstances, I am left with a reasonable doubt, and I am duty-bound to find that the Commonwealth has not met its burden to prove that Ms. Fitzsimmons committed an assault by means of a dangerous weapon on Officer Newman, and my verdict is there must be not guilty.
He then makes the wild accusation that he believed he was standing in the way of Kelsey going downstairs and killing Justin. Speaking of Justin, one more time for old time's sake.
First, I just noticed things that didn't look right. Small things, resolution issues, metadata issues, odd patterns. But the more I looked, the worse it got.
Keep walking. Keep walking. Nobody wants to hear.
Still got everybody around you, right?
You do. Go be by yourself.
How long?
Karen Reed drives a black Lexus with a beige interior. If you followed this case at all, you know the car. In the copy that was in circulation prior to the sealing order, when you see the interior of this car, it looks almost normal, almost like what it should be. But in the version shown to the jury in trial 2, the contrast has been pushed up so aggressively that the entire scene changes character. 3 separate measurements show a consistent directional change that persists across every single segment boundary.
Admitted that Proctor interviewed Higgins and that Higgins presented some texts between himself and plaintiff. Further admitted that Higgins reported that he and Reed had kissed. As to the remaining allegations, Proctor is without knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief as to their truth.
Now look what we have in this file. You can see here there are diagonal snow streaks. Snow close to the camera lens falling in the foreground of the scene. But look where they stop. Hard. No blending, no soft edge, they just stop. A redaction tool blends what's already there. It can't produce a hard geometric boundary where foreground snow simply ceases to exist. A redaction tool would blend it into the redacted region, not erase it completely at a fixed line. Somebody didn't want us to see John's tailgate in the actual condition it was at this specific time. And I suspect they cropped this tailgate out of another section of footage and stripped the chroma balance to make it blend with this scenery at this time of the morning. Not naming any names.
I'm only asking.
Bye-bye.
Karen Reed's motion for permission to use materials for Michael Proctor's.
She references Higgy one time, and it's like, Higgins is always all over me. That was it. The one little sentence was, Higgy is always all over me, all the time.
How are you in trouble for trying to take your life?
So you had no idea that they had alleged that you had done what they alleged you done?
No. I had no idea.
Didn't do it. Testify that. So, testify that. So.
And showing solidarity, you can see them there.
It's about getting justice for John O'Keefe.
There clearly is an issue of integrity.
How dare they?
Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, it's so good to be back. Hi, everybody in the chat. So good to see you all. I'm going to welcome in right away my co-host for our Monday Nooners. I think you'll be able to see him here in a moment. There he is. Hello, Vince. Hi, Loophole Lawyer. How are you?
It feels, it's great. It feels good to be back with you. John was good at the Nooner that I did on Friday, but I have to say, you are a little bit easier on the eyes. John is a good-looking guy, just a little bit easier on the eyes for me. I'm glad to be back, and we have a lot to go through. Another amazing opening that you did. How long did it take you to make those?
Like an hour, front to back. Yeah. Today I took a little less time because I had the clips already, a lot of the clips all ready to go. So, but it doesn't take too long. It depends on the morning and if my editing system is cooperating or not, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, congratulations on the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case.
Yes, very exciting. Very big win. Such a relief. This poor woman has been through such hell and back. And but it has produced some pretty hilarious moments like like that. I can't get enough of that video of Justin, a lay-in, who they refer to as Alien in the trial, running away on that security camera. It's too much. It's absolutely hysterical. And this is a guy who we're supposed to expect to run into a burning building to save us. And I'm pretty certain that is not a position that any of us would want to be in.
Yeah, and I don't know much about the case other than I probably lost two friends, Emily and maybe someone else, because I just taunt them all the time. I have nothing to do with the case except for I saw that guy running. Did he run because he heard the gunshots for Kelsey?
Yeah.
So he was in the house at the time?
Yes, he was in the basement. He hears two gunshots when Kelsey is shot, and the whole thing is hilarious. It's a funny long story, but long story short, that is what he is running from, yes.
I would have done the same thing, so I'm not going to make fun of him. Have you ever shot a handgun?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever shot a handgun. Maybe I've shot a hand BB gun. I don't know if that counts.
No, it doesn't, because it took me about 9 months to get my premise permit in New York City. This is about 5 years ago. And then at the time, Sam, there was a range at 26th and 6th Avenue in the basement of just an office building, and it's where all the cops would hang out. I had no idea how to shoot a handgun at all, but once you do, it is such an explosion that goes on in your hands, no pun intended, and it is so loud. And I was holding the handgun wrong, meaning that there is a way to hold it so when the slide goes back, it doesn't hit your hand. And I had 3 different marks on my hand because I was holding it wrong. I didn't know how to hold it. It took 10 months to get the goddamn license, and then no one taught me how to use it, so I had to go in there. But I hated it. I hated the sound of it. It was so loud. I know I'm a pansy, and I just don't like it. I've shot rifles before, like in camp, but this is totally different. So the sound in that place when Kelsey was shot must have been crazy. And of course, being shot is so insane. So the cop shot 2 times, but only hit her once?
Right. That's right. Yes, this very experienced veteran police officer who's been trained to watch over our nuclear power plant sites. Yes, he missed her.
Yeah.
At close range.
It's a crazy situation. And the reason why I lose friends is because I do say the logical thing that technically he saved her life. As crazy as it is, if you just think about it logically, if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't be alive.
But he didn't, though, because it seems like that. But the more you learn about the case, it turns out that the gun wasn't loaded. And so she had already pulled the trigger before he started shooting, and it didn't go off. So he walked in, she had actually already pulled the trigger. Then he shoots twice, misses her once. So if they had brought in a mental health professional or DCF or Department of Children and Family Services, whatever it's called in your neck of the woods, not yours, but in other people's necks of the woods, then it doesn't happen at all, because Kelsey had postpartum depression immediately following giving birth. It's sort of a situation that if you had thought about this situation logically, you could have seen all of this coming pretty easily. But it's just all based on lies to begin with, and that's the part that's just so frustrating. Justin is just such a twerp. I don't even know. He's not even worth air. He's such a twerp. He's like a twerp. I don't I don't even know how else to say it. But also to your point, he's terrified of her dad, I guess, because dad is like a insecurity, and I don't know if people think he's like a mobster. I think it's all just, you know, like this illusion of who her father is. But he's so terrified of her dad. And I think that's part of why he's so afraid to go in and out of the house, because he's afraid that her father is going to be there, like waiting to shoot him. It's just all in their heads, though. There's no evidence of any of this. It's just kind of groupthink. They kind of fed each other, came up with these wild tales. And I think Justin's mother and sisters are really who's responsible for most of this situation, and he just kind of allowed it to happen. That's my take on the situation anyway.
Yeah, and the thing with groupthink, especially in our business where we're entertaining, there's a lot of you that we talk to and they tell me privately, oh, this is what I really believe about Karen, but I can't say it publicly. And I'm not going to say who does that. You've never done that to me, but I get it because you want to keep your core audience happy. And I went into Melanie Little's channel. I had no idea what was going on. I just literally typed the word guilty just to mess with Emily. And I didn't know anything about the case. And everyone started to attack me. And I thought it was like hilarious. So I just kept doing it. I went to a different, switched to a different thing. And they're like, this asshole. And to me, that was funny because that's just my sense of humor. But it is a weird groupthink. And the problem with that is, as you know, you start to exclude any other possibilities with regard to whatever you're analyzing. Now, I have nothing to do with that case, but it did happen in the Karen Reed case. And we're going to see it today because we do have video from Brian Higgins' door cam that somehow the beautiful girls at the Forensic Files got. And we're going to see it. Now, it's not a lot, but it does mean a lot. And we're going to get into what that means for solving the case that I'm working on here is the death of, obviously, John O'Keefe by the hands of Brian Higgins. Did you see that video yet?
I did see the video, and I think it's fascinating. It also speaks to this conversation that we've been having for a while now. We've been analyzing the waterfall video, trying to figure out what really was going on in those, fateful moments to determine, was there animosity? Who was it between? And when you look at Karen's behavior, it turns out that she's not actually ignoring Higgins, that she's actually flirting with him, that it appears as though he is pointing to her and definitely inviting her, at least, to come to the house after party. So, it's sort of then after the fact, she reaches out to him right away, though he doesn't respond. And then never at any time, according to Aiden, and of course all these texts that have come out since, and now this video we're going to take a look at, and at no time does it appear as though Karen thinks he's involved. It seems as though she thinks he's merely a witness. And even, and I don't want to give it away, but even to the degree that they are considering trying to kind of win him over and get him back on her side.
Yeah, and that's the real issue of this, because the video is not that long, as we'll see, but it goes to the mindset. They sent a private investigator who is a female, and it actually looked like Karen, because I was sleeping when I saw it, and I thought Karen was at the front door, and
a little bit,
I woke up. Yeah, and that was done intentionally. Karen knows because of her age, and she knows when a guy invites you for a drink at 40, she knows what they're really saying, and she knows that Brian Higgins is a poon hound. That's all her and him and John did for the months prior. It was all about drinking and getting girls, and she understands. And in fact, she was able to get him on her side, right? She was able to sex with him secretly behind John's back, and the real issue is she does not believe that Brian Higgins had anything to do with the murder at that point.
She does not. And I don't even know if she does today.
I don't think so either. It is nuts to me because there is only a limited amount of people, and he's the only one with a motive. The only one.
Right. With a real motive.
Of the 10 people. Yeah. Right. I mean, Brian Abbott doesn't have a motive. He has zero motive.
No.
Little Colin, he's not amongst the 10, but if he did, he has no motive. He's walking out of a house of a suburban place. No motive.
No. Their only motives are just their personalities. You could argue their character, right? The history that they have been in fights before, they like to get drunk and fight, whatever, things of that nature. But there's no personal motive, of course.
Right. I mean, there is no motive. I mean, you could say that someone is a serial killer, and they don't necessarily need a motive besides just to kill anyone at random. I don't think that that's a situation in any of these people in the house.
Right. Yeah, and
So
certainly
the
not
only
with their kids. I mean, that's one of the things when people say, well, maybe John had dirt on the Alberts and all of that. Maybe there was a setup. The thing is, even Brian Albert is not going to arrange any kind of actual murder with his children around. And that's part of the problem, right? So whatever happened clearly was an accident. And we know that's based on the fact that his kids are there, at least two of them when this is happening.
Yeah, and you sort of lose sight of that sometimes. It's right. Brian Albert's not going to murder someone at his house during this time when they were just on video with each other. This would be
right.
So outside of his character. And again, that's not what the evidence supports either. And that's what's more important is you have to focus on the evidence. But when we go back to groupthink, everyone thought, including Karen, that it was little Colin Albert and Brian Albert were the ones who attacked John O'Keefe based upon that intel that they got. So when you surround yourself with everyone thinking that, and you throw out anyone that has any opposite opinion, even if you're making it just to annoy Emily, then you never get to the real issue, was who actually did this. And this is a perfect example of the groupthink. Now, you're into the psychology of this. Do you know a definition, putting you on the spot, of groupthink?
I mean, that is what it's generally called in psychology.
How would you explain it to someone?
Groupthink is essentially when you hang out with people who only reinforce your opinion, and because you're only around people that reinforce your opinion, your scope becomes so limited that you can believe anything, and it can result in what we call a shared delusional disorder, where everybody starts believing that there's aliens in your forks, and everyone around you believes it because you just keep supporting and reinforcing each other's opinions. And in actuality, when we look all over the world, it turns out that anybody at any time can pretty much take a belief, no matter how irrational. And if it's supported enough by others, it can become a fixed belief, even if it's
What about
totally
aliens
illogical.
in the basement?
Definitely, yep. Basement aliens. Yeah, ghosts. I mean, you name it, any of that stuff. I mean, those maybe are bad examples even because some people have real rationales for believing in those things. I mean, you can just take the most random and absolutely baseless facts and put them together. And if enough people encourage that with each other, then it can become a delusional disorder where people believe it.
I was referring to that alien guy. That's the last name of the Fitz.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Kelsey
Elaine. Sorry, I missed it.
Is
But
that
yes,
why everyone
because-
calls it alien? Now, he's a good-looking guy because when I'm watching these things, my wife, I could see her reaction, right? So she's smiling when she sees this guy testifying. Obviously, if you're looking at me all day, pretty much anyone else looks a lot better when you look to the big screen, right? So then the other case that we're talking about is the Hawaiian case.
Yeah.
Conniff, I think, is the name. And I call that guy a twerp. Now, you had a different opinion on him and her compared to all these other cases. I don't know if you want to share that with people yet or if you put out a video on it.
Yeah. I will be right after this today. So fascinating. As soon as you mentioned it, you asked for, well, hey, what are your thoughts on this? So I went and I watched the bombshell testimony of the wife. And I fully admit, and even at the beginning of the video that I recorded, my bias is to believe this woman. A woman who says my husband, tried to throw me off a cliff and tried to kill me, and it was, premeditated, and then she's got blood on her face and witnesses to to some of it. My instinct is to believe her for whatever reason. So I went into it shocked at some of the things I had to conclude based solely on the language. Now, I didn't do my due diligence. This is one of those cases where I did not spend hours and days trying to figure out all the background and all the actual evidence and facts around the case. So I only had her testimony when I did my analysis. And I think it'll surprise a lot of people what the language suggests. Now, that's all we have. We only know, because I didn't do any of the homework, I only have the language that she gave us. And it still surprises me as I sit here and think about it. So it's a fascinating case.
So for those of you who don't know, there's a woman who was on her second marriage, to a anesthesiologist. They live in Maui. They went to Oahu, the main island where all the tourists fly in. It's not very tropical there, but there was a place to go hiking. They decided to go hiking, and she claims that the husband tried to throw her off a cliff. And who is that, Sonny?
Yeah, of course.
So then claims that her husband tried to throw her off the cliff. He claims, I think, that it was self-defense. I didn't see that part yet.
Hold on a second. And
okay, so give us the background.
He had a needle. Yeah, right. So she claims that he not only tried to throw her off the cliff, and we have seen, to be fair, true crime cases in the past where that did happen.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is an anesthesiologist. So she also claimed that suddenly a needle shows up and that he's trying to like jam her with some drug. We don't know what. And we do know, by the way, there is a fight. They do get into a physical altercation.
Sure.
So that is validated. It's just a matter of what actually happened and whether or not what she's saying is true. The other thing to be mindful of, she's a nuclear scientist. She actually studies the inside of nuclear reactor cores. So she's no dummy. This is not a stupid woman by any stretch. That's I think a factor that may be important to just note also.
It is. So part of the issue was that they claim that they're hiking. He goes on the trail, lets her stay there because she's starting to feel weird about the heights, which I still think is weird. He comes back. He says to her, "Oh, you're still here?" So that's another weird thing where people are hiking together, but he goes on. To me, I know that when you're in a relationship, sometimes you're fighting on things that you shouldn't be fighting on, and you're like, I just leave instead of like being in a physical altercation and just keep on going. I don't know if hikers do this or not, but it seems odd if you and I are going hiking and we're married, God forbid for you, that I leave you like on the trail because I need to go hiking so much more. Like I don't understand that desire. But when he does come back, they get into the altercation. The real issue is, which I tried to explain to the people in my community, is that this may not be murder. There may be an altercation. It may be assault and battery. It may be self-defense, but it may also not be murder. There's a huge difference. Like if you get into a physical fight with your husband or fiance, that's not the same as him trying to kill you or you trying to kill him. There's a huge difference, obviously, and it comes down to what you can prove. Now, during the scuffle, she claims that he pulls out a syringe and a vial and tries to load it up while they're fighting, while she's grabbing his testicles. This is all true. And if that is true, now that's a whole different thing, right? Because then he probably did plan it, obviously, unless you just happen to have that in your backpack and you're going for it. Now, did they ever find the syringe and vial when they went to look back?
I don't think so. So I don't think there was ever a vial and a syringe found. The one thing that I think makes him sound guilty is he ran. There was a foot chase with police. I guess he was, I don't know exactly the time frame, but when he finally was found, there is a bit of a foot chase. They're not police, they're, the forest rangers, I forget what their titles are. But they go after him. And he does do a little bit of running. It's short. So that's another sort of fact, I think, that makes him seem guilty. But to my knowledge, and I could be wrong about this, to my knowledge, there was no vial or needle found, to my knowledge.
And that is a huge thing because there is a whole nother issue going on. Behind the scenes, she's having an emotional affair with a coworker. They're sexting, texting every single moment of the day, which we know we've seen in almost all these cases. And I speak about limerence all the time, and it happens. Like you're in love with this guy emotionally, which is a fantasy world. Then you're going hiking with your asshole husband, and even a hike doesn't seem so great, right? You would want to do anything with this guy that you're in limerence with, in love with, in this fantasy world. You would never get into an altercation like this. And sometimes you are going to treat your man differently because of what you're doing on the side. And that's a huge issue. And then I guess the medical bag that he carries, this doctor, every day to and from, supposedly she finds syringes and vials in it at the house a few days later when they get back. Right. Yeah. And to me, like that's all seems suspect if they never found anything at the scene.
Right, exactly.
Right? Because
she
goes
and she admits,
by
the way, in her testimony, she admits that's totally standard, that he always had that medical bag. It was with him all the time. And her thing, in her testimony, she claims that yes, she saw it all the time, but she never opened it. And when she opened it, she was shocked at what was in there. So then she calls her lawyer. The lawyer tells her to call the police, and then the police come and take the bag.
I laugh because I've done crazy large sum litigations against major firms with the major law firms. And I've also done a standard divorce in Nassau County, where I grew up, which is a typical suburban middle-class white. I have never seen so much hostility in my life in litigation at all, as opposed to a divorce of a middle-class family. You would not believe what happens and what they're willing to do. And I have clients, and we buy them all different recorders, Sam, pen recorders, hidden recorders, to record what's about to happen. Because a lot of times people want to live together initially, right? So it's like, we're getting divorced, I'm getting divorced, but we're going to stay together, right? And live in, and guarantee one of them is going to the jail for some reason. It's going to happen. And I've seen it happen in my family, I've seen it happen with clients. So yeah, we always have recorders ready so that you can record someone when they're making the threats. That's not to say you shouldn't believe all women, all men, but you have a right, a fundamental right, and it's your obligation as a lawyer to test every allegation that this person's making. And when I say the wife, people say, well, Vince, you're wrong on this one. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about what the law is and what we can prove, right? Because if this was your brother, if this was your husband, if this was your dad being accused, you'd want those same fundamental rights. That goes to all the women there. If it's your son, you would want to have that right.
Absolutely.
So you can't just look at it because, oh, it's a female, we have to believe it. No, that's not how the law works at all. She's blinded and wrapped around her eyes for a reason. It's supposed to be where you can just go on what the facts are and leave emotion out of it, as hard as that is to do.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, I'm aware of my personal bias, but I agree with you. It was like that with the Corey Richards case, too. Going into it, I didn't want to believe that she was guilty. I want to give this woman the benefit of the doubt. And I also saw with Karen Reed how some people just looked at her for about 3 seconds, watched her while she was in court, you know, sitting there as a defendant, and said, oh, she's got a look on her face. She's guilty. She definitely did it. We all have that tendency. And it's hard. You really have to try to put that aside and just pay close attention to the facts of the case, which is super hard to do. I mean, admittedly, it's really hard to do. We're very seduced by what we see and hear, without a doubt.
And that's why when you're a trial attorney with jurors and even a judge, you have to throw all your political correct bullshit out the window. It doesn't make a difference because people want to project, oh, I never see color, I don't do, but you do. Your brain does all the time, and you have to be able to analyze that. And that was smart on behalf of the attorneys that went for the bench trial in that case, because generally a judge will put as much of the emotion out of it and just go to what is being proven. If it was just a cop saying, I shot her because I thought she was trying to shoot me, and she's saying I was trying to shoot myself, you need more than just that to meet the burden of proof in a criminal trial. So it's very smart on behalf of Kelsey's attorneys if that's the way it went down.
It is. And it was very, I had said there was a motion, a hearing a week before the trial in preparation for the trial where Kelsey's team was asking that Kelsey be allowed to live independently, that because they're also going to be a family court hearing a week later, and she needed her home to be set up for the baby because she really wants the baby back. She's not seen her son since they took him on that day. So the judge sat there and listened, and the Commonwealth argued, why, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Like, it's only a week. Why should we, do anything? Allow this to be, why should we make any changes before next week? And he interrupted the prosecutor, and he said, but it is broke. But the issue is, to her, it is broke. And as soon as he made that statement, I was like, oh, this guy, he's totally fair. He understands Kelsey's position. He also had all the information, stuff the jury never would have seen. He had all the information about Justin, the 270 weed videos that happened over the course of 90 days. Like, he had all this stuff that a jury would never have seen. He was fair in that moment. He allowed her to get her home ready for the baby in case of not guilty. So I think in that moment, I left that hearing and said, oh, they should do a bench trial without a doubt, because he's going to be as fair down the middle as anyone has seen.
So you're saying she has no access to her child yet, even despite the not guilty verdict?
Right. She has to go through family court, and I think it's coming up this week or early next week, sometime very soon.
Yeah, and I have a complete bias when it comes to that. I almost always believe that the woman, the mother, should have access to the child, almost irregardless. Even the fact that she was at one point claiming that she was going to kill herself, I don't even care about that, really. It's the mother, the woman that is biologically able to care for a man. I know because I've raised 2 kids. Men are just bad at it. We're not built for it. We're not, even if we're the worst in terms of a mother, she's still better than a guy doing it. So she needs to have access to her baby. There's only one person that has a vested interest besides the father is the mother, and so much more better capable of raising a child compared to
Justin,
this
I don't
person.
think is involved. I mean, even though he has custody legally, I think his mother is the one raising the baby at this moment because clearly Justin is not capable. But the sad part for me, I trust that in time Kelsey's going to get that baby back. And the sad part is she's got to deal with this guy and his family for the rest of that child's life. And that's, man, that is a brutal, because this is all temporary and you have to trust that she's going to be able to prove her case. And I think she's doing a good job, obviously, to this point. And, she's got a lot of support and a lot of people in her corner, and as she should, because this was a horrific nightmare of a case. As a police officer, no less. That part kills me. It absolutely kills me. This is a female cop. She was treated so egregiously, but I don't want to get angry. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they were able to take this baby away too from the start was unimaginable.
Yeah, so tell me about that. So you can get in New York a temporary restraining order. It's called something different, but you can get that without having the other side there. So I can go and say that my wife struck me, and then in court she's not there. She doesn't even know I'm there, and then they will issue a temporary restraining order against her, and they potentially can pull her out of the house. And until we have a full hearing, I have custody. I get whatever I want. Now, people do this all the time to try and take advantage of the system, and it's done a lot. So is that what happened here in this case?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. But the claims that they were making were just completely baseless. They were invented. And I think largely they were invented because Justin really didn't want to marry Kelsey and was too afraid to just sit down with her and tell her the truth.
Yeah, and I get that too. And you made a good point about divorce, because people think, oh, I'm getting divorced, I'm going to get this guy out of my life or girl out of my forever. No, in fact, it gets a hell of a lot worse, because you're separated, but every single decision that you have to make, you have to communicate with your ex, as you know, and anyone that is divorced knows. So be wary of that thought process. Oh, it's going to be great, I'm going to be on my own. It's not the case. In fact, you're going to be more entwined with the person.
It's so true. I was very lucky because we had a very amicable split, me and my ex. And it was very amicable. We were both, it was clear we were not, at that point, should not have been together. And, I don't think he wanted it, but it was clear. And he's a sweet guy. And I remember I called a divorce attorney just for a consult, and she was like, we need to do this, and that. And I was like, oh, no, this is, I want no part of this. And they don't negotiate. Like, they're like, this is what we're doing. And it is cutthroat. It's immediately cutthroat, and assume that you want to go to war.
Yeah, and that's what the attorneys love. And if you notice, almost every divorce attorney that gets a divorce, they never hire an attorney because they know it's the biggest waste of money. In our state, pretty much every single situation is already decided, meaning that no matter what happens, whether you cheated on your wife, there's a grounds for divorce, and then there's the splitting of all the assets. And that's already defined by law. Pretty much you're splitting all marital assets 50-50. You can spend the $100,000, $200,000 fighting over that, but in the end, that's what the judge is going to do. So you can do it now or do it later. But I also understand that it's emotional because it's a family. You're ripping out a marriage. So like some party wants to kill, they want to fight, not literally kill. Of
course.
But just like get into that litigation, and it's just all going to reduce the amount of money you're going to be splitting equally at the end.
You're 100% right. That's all very true. I've been a mediator, just having to attest to couples that are going through divorce, being the counselor, the therapist for the family, and attesting to the well-being of the child, things of that nature. And you're absolutely right. It's pretty much all laid out. There's the finer points that you have to fight over, like what's our custody schedule going to be, things of that nature. How much money is one going to pay the other in child support? But even that, New York has a finite number for. So
Right.
it's pretty much all determined ahead of time. And you're right. It's really just about we hate each other and we're going to battle it out because of that.
Is it a bad sign that my wife knows that exact number already? I'm not kidding.
Maybe.
Like to the penny, because in New York there's a formula for which you have to
There
pay based upon how many kids you have and what the other things, but she knows the exact number for some reason.
Yeah, I think
I'm not
it's
kidding.
salary, right? It's like salary and then number
Yeah.
of kids, which is really, really funny.
Great.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, it's a tough situation. And like I said, in my case, I was lucky because we had an amicable split, and we have, you know, a great, wonderful daughter and the whole thing. Very, very blessed. But I feel, and I still feel every second when I think about Kelsey, she'll get that baby back, but we'll always have to deal with dad. And, you know, God knows, like, he is just so irresponsible, and his family is obviously really, really nutty. So, you know, you don't know. It's scary. It's definitely scary.
Speaking of
people
lucky,
are
I did
nuts.
obviously. Yeah, I did do the show with John, my new best friend. I got rid of Kevin and got a new best friend. And John seems to be a lot more cooler. He was able to get his hands on Karen Reed's actual mattress. And in my mind, the second I hear it, I don't know why, Sam, you and I come from the both same world. All I want to know is, all right, did you smell it, right? Like, did you smell Karen
Ew.
Reed's mattress? Yeah, you say, ew, but come on, you don't think... And before I even asked, this is why I love John, he already told me that he did. He smelled like the headboard. Not in a... I didn't have to ask. He told it to me.
That's so
But,
funny.
you know, I mean, and those you don't know, obviously Kevin, I betrayed his trust. One time I betrayed his trust, and I disclosed where the secret meeting, where the Alberts and them were having after it took place. And I did ask him, I thought I wasn't betraying his trust, but again, he's blocked me. So I'm now best friends with this new guy, John, who's a lot nicer. And we did a show Friday, and I told him how Lucky was the one that got me more into LawTube. I wasn't even really going to do law tubing, and I did the video on Lucky, and it really hit. It went not viral, but like 100,000 views, and I'm like, what's going on with this? And then I kept doing it, and then I told him, and I'm not gonna cry, I told him that when Lucky spoke on his show, and I recorded it for the people that we were doing the video for, I cried, but I didn't let him put it in. You know, like when you hear Lucky speak about being
His
just
wife?
speaking, yeah, that it wasn't the wife. It was just his overall aura. When you see a witness that doesn't lie, that's just telling the truth, right? That's very frank with people, compared to a Brian Higgins and a Brian Albert. A story for every fucking.
Oh my God.
And Karen was crying too. Like, it was just a refreshing thing to see at the trial. And then when he's giving this little speech at the end about David Yannetti, I lost it. And they have the video. So I'm gonna try and find it. It's somewhere. And I was telling him how I need to thank Lucky somehow, some way, on some level. So we tried to call over to Chris Albert's pizza shop, and for some reason, my phone's so stupid with the speaker. I don't know. I was able to hear, I think it was Chris that we called, was going to order 2 pies and deliver them to Lucky's place of business, wherever they go with, and they said it was okay. But they, for some reason, wasn't hearing me. But I'm going to get that done, and we're going to do it live. Once you and I are working on having phone calls into the show, we're going to get that done. And
Yes.
then at one point, we will do something for Lucky. I have to, because I have to thank him for any of the success that I had to do with basically him.
I didn't
So,
know
yeah, it
that.
was-
So that's a good story. I didn't realize that your, you know, entry point into the case was specifically Lucky's testimony, and this is in the trial too. I think, correct?
It was based upon trial 1, but for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, Sam. I was even like going to give up almost with this area. And I just did that video, and I was focusing on shorts at the time and doing the other stuff. And this one video, then all of a sudden it just started to take off from there. And then, I mean, you know how it was back during the trial days, the amount of views you were getting. It was insane. The amount of money that was being made was insane. I never seen it before on YouTube like this. It was crazy.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
So, but if it wasn't for Lucky and him and just covering that, then yeah, I wouldn't be here speaking with you.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because I didn't go into making videos with any intent to experience success. I mean, I seriously was like, I saw the second trial coming and I knew I needed an outlet because I went through it alone the first time and it was so hard. Like, I just had all these feelings and I was so scared of the anxiety during the trial, like actually on game day. is so high listening to these testimonies, listening to cross-examination. I just wanted a place to vent. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just start making videos. And then, yeah, people started getting views. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep doing it. But I didn't at all expect that this would be like a career shift or anything of that sort. So, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Karen Reed, certainly she's completely changed my life. I mean, there's absolutely no question about it. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy, analyzing psychologically these cases. That's why I was watching to begin with, right? So it's certainly crazy how all of our lives have been so dramatically altered by this case. It's crazy.
Yeah, and of course, you and I have a similar background. I mean, I literally edited videos that we produced for Howard, and you were doing it in the actual studio / next to it on 6th Avenue, right, at Sirius Satellite Radio. Yeah, so you and I were both in this world. Although you are a graduate of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
I am. Mm-hmm.
I actually spoke to one of my friends in the Howard Stern world, and he was telling me that your dad is sort of like a big name there, that they would always use that name. Did your dad go there?
Yeah, my dad went there. Yep, did their program. Okay. He's like the most, at least in the CSB that I was at in New Jersey, in Hasbrook Heights. I don't even know if it's still there, but he was far and away the biggest name that had, a successful person that had graduated, and he did their spots for a while. So he did ads on his show for CSB, and lots of people, you wouldn't believe it. My class, I went years later after him, and you would not believe. First of all, they put your name on like a screen. It's scrolling when you first show up, get day one. And everybody there like every participant, all the students were inspired by him to be there. So, I mean, even some of the teachers couldn't even speak to me because they were like, starstruck. It's so crazy. He's just my dad. I spent the weekend with my dad actually. So it's kind of fresh in my mind, but we had a funeral actually and a wake. Yeah. Great. Terrible situation. Yeah. My dad's sister passed away, tragically, untimely. So
how
horrible. She was sick. She had been sick for a while, and just, finally it was time.
I don't like when people don't tell me how people die. For example, like I had a friend from law school, my best friend, Dan Kay. He died, but they don't tell me what, and I don't want to ask. And he's only 40. He's young. Yeah, I know. I believe it was an overdose, but no one tells you.
Well, it wasn't that. This was like a blood disease, a blood illness, like a sort of a form of leukemia or something along. Nobody can give it to me straight because I guess it's very rare, but it was a form, I believe, of leukemia.
Was she going to any local hospitals?
Yeah, I mean, she was a doctor. My father's whole family are doctors, so she was being treated by them. And she was at home. She died at home. But the whole situation was really, really tough. And the good thing that came out of it is it sort of reunited all of like my family together, and me with her children, my first cousins, who I plan on, bringing back into my fold as much as I can. My younger cousin, her son wants to be in production. So I'm hoping maybe we can bring him into our world a little bit when he's ready. Not today, but when he's ready.
All right, so let's get to this video here. I put together something for us. Now, you have to thank the beautiful Tuesday and the rest of those girls for getting this video and producing it and displaying it, and we have it here. Now, again, we're hyping up like the video like it's a big deal. Really, what's more important is what's around it. But first, we're going to hear a little bit from your friend and our friend Aiden with regard to driving by Higgins' house, which apparently is a tourist destination. I would love to do it myself. There's nothing wrong with driving by someone's house. There's nothing illegal about it, unless, of course, you have a restraining order or something to that effect. So that's what we're going to hear first.
All right, so let's narcissists cannot deal with shame and will swear everyone. One thing, I never watched these ladies, very rarely. I was watching this morning because I wanted to see if I could find this on my own. And every time I do turn it on, though, what they're doing is talking about Aiden. They just absolutely love to spend hours just bashing Turtle Boy, which to me, I don't I don't see the value in that exercise, but okay.
I have to say too, they
Sorry, go ahead.
He's also, we found out, very
Wait, what were you gonna say?
they bashed me as well, and my new best friend John as well. But I only say nice things about them, and you know that. I never say anything mean about them. I promote all of their videos. In fact, you know what? Lydia's so mean to me, but for some reason, I'm even attracted to her a little bit now. I don't know why. Like, if a girl's like pays any attention to me, I think I start to like them. So Lydia, I like you too. And of course, Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, I have no animosity towards girl, but they hate me.
Yeah, I kind of have a sense of why, but let's just play this. And
Brian Higgins, the weed whacker. Higgy Bear. He's also, we found out, very sensitive. He listens to every show about him. He pretends to be someone named Kevin from South Boston.
Hey man, what's up guys? Kevin from South Boston. They're decorated dudes. Can you look at this from both sides?
You sound like Higgins, bro.
You wrong.
Is this Higgins?
You wrong.
You're Higgins.
Stands outside of his house and runs down the street of cars that drive past his house.
And whose car was driving down his street?
Aiden's girlfriend's car was driving down Brian Higgins Street.
On the way back from Duncan's, we're like, oh, we're right near Sandwich. Oh, you know who lives in Sandwich? A certain decorated dude.
Decorated dude.
By the name of
Brian Higgins?
Brian Higgins. Now, he lives on a little cul-de-sac kind of thing. It's a dead end with a little cul-de-sac at the end of it. And his house is on the left when you drive by. And then the only way out is you got to drive by his house again because you got to go to the cul-de-sac, turn around, and then his house will be on the right. We drive by the house. I assume he's like hiding inside or some shit like that. No, Higgy's on the lawn. I'm like, holy fuck, there he is. He's lost some weight. He's no longer a morbidly obese decorated dude.
Decorated dude.
Not like a healthy workout kind of lose weight, like a stress lose weight kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the feds are coming kind of losing weight. He's on his lawn and I'm in the passenger seat and then we drive by, we go down the end of the street. And then so we drive by and I got my camera out this time. I choked. I fucking choked. I can be honest. I choked. I'm also on bail. So I'm like not fucking with shit. And I didn't put it on video. I had it on picture. And I took a couple pictures as we went by, and it's just like of the bushes on the lawn. Like I wasn't even looking. I didn't even want to look at him. He comes down the driveway and he starts yelling at us, "Get the fuck out of here!
The fuck out of here!"
What? And then he starts running after the fucking car, like running and filming the fucking car. Higgins is running after us.
The fuck out of here!
So it's like a rhino is charging you. Like it was crazy. I'm like, well, this day just got fucking crazier. And he's got his camera out, so he's filming it. So it says, whose car is this? Driving by and threatening violence on a state's witness down on the case.
When was this? Do we remember when this happened?
When he did it, I don't recall exactly. My question was, who is that person on Twitter that made this post?
That's Kate Peter. Masshole Mafia is Kate Peter. Yeah, you do.
Again,
yes,
I don't.
She's the one that you... weeks ago, she was the one that you highlighted with. She has like, on a bad day, she looks a little bit like a wicked witch with the nose. You highlighted her. She was.
Yeah,
on
I did.
With
but what's
guys.
her connection to the?
Oh boy! I mean, she's.
I know. I mean, like
she's the whole
quickly.
thing. I mean, she's the whole thing. She's the one that had a fight with Aiden years ago. She used to work for him. She used to help him try to build his channel. They had a falling out. It did not go well. And she has ever since pretty much made her whole life or her whole presence online trying to destroy him any way she can. But that is important because she winds up working for the Commonwealth, like especially during the end of trial number 1. Now she gets in with the McAlberts and now she's like the person that brings these guys all together.
Let me take a guess. Aiden banged her?
No. Oh, no.
They didn't hook up at all?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
No.
All right. So that's her. Now, somehow they get this video, obviously from Brian Higgins. He gives it to them. This, to me, looks like he's either doing it live or FaceTiming and someone is recording it because the quality is so bad. So I don't think that he was doing this in an innocent capacity. And we're going to get into this. I just didn't know who actually posted this. So
I see. You're saying that you think this is surveillance. That's what you're saying.
No, or just Brian Higgins showing these girls, Kate or whoever that's on the other side, what's going on at this particular time. Or he has a really shitty phone. It's like one or the other. But he sends it to them. So you're communicating to other people where you live, the street, everything. So don't act as if people don't go by it. You're the one who's broadcasting this to the world, and you want to sort of get back at Aiden. I'm going to get into like how wrong that is on Higgins' part, but I just didn't know who this person was that actually posted this video.
Yes, she's where most of their stuff comes from, I think. Okay, because they know to reach out to her or Kevin, right? It's one or the other to kind of be the access point to the media, right?
You got to bring up my old lost love, Kevin. Thanks.
I know.
I know who was in the passenger seat doing a lot of the yelling. There's also no state's witness. Brian Higgins isn't a witness to anything. The trial's over.
Get the fuck out of here.
Got to be a phone. He's moving.
And then he ran after us.
Not once. It was more than once. And Brian Higgins came out. Aiden likes to blame his girlfriend on that.
Blaming Brian Higgins for being angry that Aiden's stalking him.
This is from September
Can we
of
stop it right there for a
2023.
second?
Earlier,
I
we
wanted
had
to
said
say,
you
but,
guys,
it is okay, though, for Jen McCabe to stalk Aiden. It's just not okay for Aiden to drive by Higgins's house. But okay.
Yeah, and
whatever.
from a legal standpoint, we got to be careful when we use different words. Now, you could say stalk, and that's something where it's a general term, but legal stalking, as we saw with little Colin Albert in this state, is completely different. In fact, it's pretty lax. You're allowed to drive on a street. I question Brian Higgins. You did what you did, which is fine, but what was your intent? Was it to stop Aiden? If you got your hands on him, what were you going to do? Because what you're not allowed to do is take the law into your own hands. Even if you believed you were being stalked criminally, you're not allowed to enforce the law, especially not in his capacity, right? So what was Higgins' intent in this?
You mean running after him like he was?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if
Yeah,
you
that's
got
a good
to him, nothing Higgins did was illegal, but trying to enforce the law for which you believe has been violated is not acceptable in our society, right? They do have certain situations where you can do a citizen's arrest, but that's not going to be the case here. Aiden was not stalking him. You can drive by that house as much as you want. There's no restraining order. He didn't do anything wrong at all. And for some reason, Brian Higgins feels that he has to mentally get out there and say that. And for certain, it looks like he was broadcasting it to somebody. I couldn't imagine it would be on like a YouTube platform. Obviously, that's private, but it looks like he's showing somebody live. So if he has this connection to the other side, and if that's through this woman, Kate, then that's
probably a
interesting,
lawyer.
too.
It was probably a lawyer. My guess is
that's
if he
a good
was doing
point.
it, was probably a lawyer. He wasn't gonna, we're only seeing this now from his view. Although no, that's right. You're right. Sorry, Kate put it up pretty quick.
Right.
Here we go.
is about Karen. She needed certain people, and she was kind of putting the brakes on going after those people. Well, one of those people that Karen thought she needed was Brian Higgins. So in September of 2023, I think it was September 17th to be exact, Karen and her attorneys showed up at Brian Higgins' door. Remember about this is Brian Higgins.
Just FYI, what year are we talking about? 23, September of 2023, before the first trial?
Yeah, that's where we need to get the timeline straight, because I did not do that research. So if it is September 2023, then let's figure that out. We should get to a few of these questions before we move.
Yeah, we got to get to them. Let's take a pause.
Pause
Let's
right
get
here.
to
Yeah, and I'm going to figure out that timeline.
Okay, let me remove this. Okay. Hello, Cynthia Marks, member for 2 months. Yay, Cynthia. Okay, so Tuesday was talking shit about you, dear. Saturday evening, trashed Emily again, and then freaking shredded me. Woo, that's fun. I wanted to defend you so bad, but it wouldn't let me. Well, I appreciate you trying to defend me. And if they're going to come after me, then that means I can go after them. So.
And my response is Tuesday, I love you.
So I appreciate you letting me know. I try to stay away from them because to me it's like they're such easy targets. They're so silly. They're so obviously not the smartest group. They took the side against Kelsey, which to me just shows you that they don't give a crap about John. They don't give a crap about this case. They only care about being anti whatever we all believe, right? Because the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, you cannot be on, I mean, like, objectively, being on the side of Justin Alayan is really like, it's you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
That's
just
interesting. So
intellectually ridiculous.
around here where we grew up, you had to be a Mets, Jets fan, and maybe the Islanders. So like the teams that you liked always correlated for whatever reason. So you're saying these girls were taking the side against Kelsey, but what is the side against Kelsey?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they were saying she lied and she was, you know, supporting Officer Noonan, that Kelsey did pull out her weapon and shoot at him. I mean, I'm guessing that's what the argument was. It's just, to me, so obvious that if you're going to take a position that doesn't make sense logically, then so clearly all they're doing is being oppositional. And so the whole thing about, right, like, oh, we want to see justice for John. It's like, no, you just want to be oppositional against all of us. And you're going to take whatever position is convenient because it's oppositional. And the fact that they just want to go after Turtle Boy, they just gossip. That's really all that their program is throwing shit at Aiden, which, by the way, is a pretty easy exercise for anyone to do because Aiden's pretty open about his crap. I mean, he just throws it all out there.
Right.
So it means that they're watching his program so that they can, I mean, it's like watching little girls gossiping on a live stream. They're also boring. They don't know how to use the program. So the volume is all distorted. I mean, it's just egregious in every way. And that's why I don't even mess with them because it's like too easy.
Well,
but thank
I
you,
disagree.
Cynthia.
Obviously.
I love you for just telling us that. Thank
That's
you.
they're also mean to me, but I am nice to them and I don't hate them like you hate them. I just didn't understand how there could be an opposite side to the Kelsey case. I believe
I don't
that
think I hate
Kelsey,
them, by the way. Wait, just time out. I wouldn't say I hate them. I just don't give it attention because I have no interest. I think it's like a waste of time, I guess is what I would say.
Well, I'll say this, that they do bring documents that we've never seen before, which we're about to see.
That's true.
With regard to it. So, and they're beautiful. So to me, like the two combination, I can't turn away from, and I won't.
JJ Forever sends $9.99. Suburban, middle class, white. Huh? You're surprised that there is vitriol in white communities? Loophole. What is up with your constant racial comments? You make lots of them. Yeah, JJ Forever.
Yeah, I made my living in racial humor, writing racial humor. Probably heard a lot of jokes. I can't disclose, everything is confidential, but I love racial humor. And I am part black. I grew up with a white family in a middle class town that excluded blacks to start with. In Long Island, New York, I don't know if you know this, but literally in the contracts in Levittown and the ones that followed, you were not allowed to sell your house to a non-Caucasian or rent your house to a non-Caucasian. It was in the contract. How crazy is that? So Long Island is one of the most... In theory, in 1960, they had it and they had it going, and the Supreme Court said it's not a valid provision in a contract, but they still kept it in, meaning you couldn't enforce it. But the Long Islanders today still enforce it in their mind. If a black person moves into their neighborhood, for the most part, everyone will move out. This happened to Howard Stern. Howard Stern was living in Roosevelt. One black family moved in. All the whites would leave in the middle of the night. So now on Long Island, there are certain towns that are basically all black. I'm usually the only black kid in any of the towns that are white towns, segregated towns. Then when my parents got divorced, my dad ends up with a Jamaican woman who has 5 kids, and we're literally the only blacks in the whole town. So I got to see this dynamic. So yeah, and I love racial humor. I will never stop away from any joke. A joke is a joke, and I will never persecute anyone for a joke. That's the beauty of them.
All right, well, there you go, JJ Forever. It's a good question, though, and I'm glad that you asked. Fiona Houston 2140 sends 50 Australian dollars. Oh my God, thank you so much, Fiona. Morning from Australia. I wish you were saying this because it would be so much more beautiful with your accent than mine. Morning from Australia. The family court here is just as bad here. They encourage IVO, intervention order, because the child's name is automatically placed on it Poor Kelsey and her son. Hope they are reunited soon. P.S. Justin learned to run better. You know what? Thank you for this, for your support. But also, I know Bradel mentioned that in their press conference after the verdict that they want to try to change the law. To me, the fact that anyone can make any claim and a baby 4 months old can be ripped out of its mother's arms for 14 days is so unbelievable. It's so unimaginable. And this is a situation where you would think that the cops would have given their colleague Kelsey the benefit of the doubt because she was a colleague. She worked with them. And instead, with absolutely no evidence at all, they just believed Justin, did everything they could to hide this order from Kelsey, and then walk into her house and take the baby. And they're like, oh, you'll get him back in 2 weeks. It's like,
yeah. One thing you have to be
Crazy.
careful is that these are done ex parte, meaning the other side isn't there. Kelsey had no representation, no say. She wasn't even in the court.
Right.
However, I would probably say, though, that almost an overwhelming majority of the ones that are going to get executed are on behalf of women who are being abused by their husband or domestic partner. So you have to be careful. Yes, there will be some imperfections, and this is part of it. But I'd say in terms of protecting women, this ability to immediately move someone out quickly without any hesitation is important to the protection of women. If
I see
they're
what
the
you're
ones.
saying.
Yeah, so
this is about restraining order, not children. What you're talking about is it applies to children also, but it's really just a restraining order in general.
And it's only temporary. This is the weird thing. It's just temporary. Generally, you have a right to due process, which means that nothing can be done against you unless you had a right to defend yourself. This situation, there isn't, because let's say your fiance is attacking you and your daughter. You wouldn't want to have to wait 3 weeks before both sides can get together and actually go to a hearing and fulfill the due process requirement. Here, we're taking an extraordinary step of enforcing something without the other party having any say. And most of the time, it is beneficial. Now, had Kelsey not reacted the way she did and she had to deal with just the 2 weeks, then she would have an opportunity to present her side. And that's the negative of, I see why people are upset about that, but that's just the way it has to be. I can't figure out another way to do this in order to protect people immediately.
Well, I would say bring a social worker, because all these police departments are bringing on social workers. And in fact, Vince, as soon as the shot happened, Kelsey's taken away, and they call in a specially trained mental health professional or police officer who's trained in mental health to come to take care of the guy that shot her. So they didn't bring that person with them to the scene, but they brought that person after to make sure that the officer who did the shooting was okay.
Could there be a time where your whole angry community forgives the cop forgives Kelsey, and you guys will have a much better life if you can practice forgiveness in this situation? Because I don't believe, from what you're telling me, this cop was there to shoot her or wanted to shoot her when he woke up.
No, he immediately, I think he even lied to his wife, honestly. I think what happened was he's a veteran guy. He's been around a long time. He's 50 years old now. He's still a police officer. He's got about 10 years left in his mind on the job. And he knew immediately that he shot a police officer against protocol. And there were two ways that he screwed up. One, he took his eyes off her. He actually didn't go into the room. And the funny part about that was I knew there was something very odd about the language when I was watching those testimonies, but I just thought it's such a weird thing to lie about. Like, who cares whether you're in the doorway or on the landing? But then it turned out when Kelsey testified, that was critical, because he really wasn't in the room when she actually took the gun out. And then they staged the scene after the fact. They put a box on top of where the guns were in the gun safe to make it look like it was possible for Kelsey to just reach over and grab a gun, such that he could have had eyes on her and still done it, right? So,
but you have to be fair to this. Also, for whatever the reason, when there's domestic disputes in New York and this is filed, guns have to be removed no matter what. So you lose your baby, you also lose your guns, right? So like, I heard that she lied about having the guns, which is a huge issue, by the way.
But they did not go check. They did not, like, the first thing they should have done is walked in and said, Kelsey, where are the guns? And then gone around to collect them. They did not do that.
So she
Right?
just lied
So
to them,
that was
but
on
they
them.
didn't check where she lied.
That's right. They did
Gotcha.
not
All right.
check. Yep.
But do you see any culpability on Kelsey's part in that lie?
No, I see no culpability on Kelsey's part because there was no reason for them to be there. Now, where Kelsey is culpable is she was so desperate. And I think this says a lot about her too. The level of desperation, I get it. I mean, because she realizes in that moment, she realizes she loses everything, not just the baby, but the baby, her fiance, that the marriage is off, right? Her friends are also going against her. She knows that because she has just driven by a house of a friend and all their cars are there. Justin's too. So this is all coming at like the same. And then also she realizes she can't afford the house. She also loses her job because she realizes that, you know, she's in trouble with the law. So all this is happening at the same time. Where I fault Kelsey is, you know, she was clearly, you know, needed help more than likely, right? And I don't know if that's if I fault her for that.
No, it's not her fault, really.
It wasn't her. None of it was her fault.
That's not a fault.
I think
because
the thing is, this guy, the reason why Noonan is at fault is because you're a veteran cop. You know what? You take the hit. If you have integrity, you take the hit. But he didn't want to do that, and there's a lot of reasons. One, I think he does have PTSD. He doesn't want anybody to know that. He minimizes his relationship with Kelsey. He actually was like reaching out to her to try to help her to like, because she was a rookie, to like bring her under his wing. It seemed like he wasn't a bad guy altogether, but the way he handled the situation was so egregious and so defensive right away. He starts calling her a whack job to defend themselves, stages the scene. I think the lieutenant may know the truth, so I think he and the lieutenant are probably the only two people that know what really happened.
yeah, and ultimately they're all so fucking lucky. I mean, there's got to be just right millimeters where she's dead or paralyzed or something when you get shot in the chest.
It's true.
I don't even know how is she even alive. I don't know the details of it. So like,
yeah,
by the grace of God, they are alive. So I think ultimately the anger, the anger has eventually got to stop because they're both intertwined in this situation, and you'll be better off if you can forgive. I don't know if she's still angry at the guy that shot her. I don't know what the relationship is, but
I didn't get that so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking. But
I think the
I know,
Commonwealth is where the anger is directed because they really had no case. It was a he said, she said, and they brought it without even Vince. They never even spoke to her. They never asked her a single question. They never even reached out to find out her side of the story. They just took his side and ran with it to the point where she wakes up 53 days in the hospital and realizes that she's being, charged with serious criminal charges, did not understand any of it.
Yeah, the charges were weird too because it was just an assault, which technically is something where you can fulfill, but you didn't actually do it. So if I threaten a punch, technically that's assault. If I actually hit you with the punch, that's battery, generally in states.
Okay.
And I mean, she could have been charged with attempted murder, which would have been way more serious. I don't know what the history is with regard to the charges, but you or Emily was telling me that even if she was found guilty, she already served more time than probably the sentence would have given her.
Right. Yep.
Is that true?
I think that is true. I think that was true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, to me, this is so meaningless. Really, she has to work on her mental health and getting her kid back. Like, those are the real focuses. Like, this criminal thing,
right,
because it wasn't a huge charge. Yeah, you obviously want to be not guilty from it. But in the totality of life, how lucky she is to be alive right now. And if you believe her, she wanted to end her life. Like, that's another issue that
100%.
You have to face. Like, if she got what she wanted, she would be dead. Like, that's what the logical sense is.
Of course.
She's got to work on that. And I'm not judging her, and I don't think she's at fault at all. So much was going on in a young person's life, and if you don't have the support. And that's what I was asking about the dad. Was the dad truly a person that's this figure, or was he just like this phantom figure where she couldn't call
she
him
has
in this moment?
incredible supports. Her mother's her best friend. She has looks like they're blended families. So I think she has several step siblings who are considered siblings. It seems Kelsey actually has her head on really well, and that's part of what comes through in her testimony. She's very well educated. She was in law school and then decides to stop because during COVID they reopened the police. After they reopened the police academy, she decides she wants to be a police officer. But she, she's just really smart and really never been in trouble or done anything shady. This was a bizarre situation. And what really bothered me more than anything, I think the part that got all of us hooked, the first situation when she gets finally she gets out of the hospital, she goes in front of a judge, not this judge, a different judge. And that judge, Kathleen McCarthy Neiman, she was ruthless to Kelsey. I mean, ruthless.
How?
And how? So
why?
Kelsey got out, and first she had been awarded bail, and the conditions were insane. Now, consider there's no alcohol as a part of this incident, but she was having to blow into a scram device 4 times a day to prove that she wasn't drinking, which is bizarre and now it worked out because obviously they have nothing against her. They can't say she's been doing anything wrong. But at the time, to have her blow into this device 4 times was just utterly insane. So this is a police officer. So Kelsey, within a few days, comes back with an emergency hearing, and Bradel says, hey, look, she's got really bad injuries and they're trying to heal. And she even had the probation officer there with her to attest to it, that she couldn't blow all the way into the scram device without creating extreme pain. So they were asking for a different way. Like, can she do urine screens? Can she do some other way? And she was like, well, she immediately very obviously assumed that Kelsey was lying and trying to get one over on her. I think she even says that, and says, well, if you can't be trusted to drug test, then I guess you're going to have to go to jail. So she revokes her bail, puts her in jail. So she gets out of the hospital 3 days later. Kelsey is now healing in jail. And because she's a police officer and was a corrections officer before that, she has to be, trekked all the way to Berkshire County, all the way west, 2 hours away from her family, who can't come and see her now, right? She's 2.5 hours away, because she helped put people potentially in jail and was a corrections officer in the past.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. That seems so irrational by the judge, because there are other ways to test for alcohol or drugs.
It was ridiculous.
That seems, that is fucked up. Where's the compassion on behalf of the judge, too? Because she's presumed innocent at the time, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I didn't know that at all. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is what happened, and that's why everybody, like, the sense of enraged injustice was like. And at that time, none of us knew Kelsey's side of the story. Nothing. I mean, we really just were kind of assuming she tried to kill herself. I guess we had heard rumblings, but her actual story had not been told at all. So it was nuts. I mean, to me, the fact that this was a police officer was so important. Like, this is a female police officer who has the nerve to put herself in this position to begin with, which she's a little girl. She's like 5'2", she's this little thing. And these guys that came to the house, I mean, they're all giant men. They're like 6'4". You see all these guys taking her out on like the little stretcher thing. It's crazy to me that she felt like they were her friends. She felt like she could trust them. And the way that they did her dirty was just, to me, that was what made it all even worse. Really.
You almost make me feel bad for trolling Melanie Little and Emily now.
Well, that's why Melanie was like so freaked out. And the other thing was, Melanie was on this, to her credit, immediately when the shooting happened, like that day. And it was really bizarre because the police chief in North Andover came out and was like really aggressive against Kelsey right away. And so the whole thing was a little bit like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah,
this was right during the heart of the Karen Reed. I think Karen Reed had just closed like days earlier. So it's crazy.
Not all is lost. I got a free trip to Block Island from Melanie, so that's cool.
Really? Why?
She put me on Block Island, wherever that is. I know Block Island from a kid, but that's where I was put after I super chatted in that not guilty or guilty,
Oh my
whatever
God.
the one that triggered him.
You're funny. On top, XX6382 sends $2.99. Thank you for your super sticker on top. We appreciate your support so much. Cynthia says, sorry to hear about your aunt, Sam. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for your condolences. Very, very difficult set of circumstances. But like I said, sometimes you got to look at the good. It was nice to have our family be reunited again. At Jackie RM7 sends $5. Loophole for your humor. I love a good laugh at my expense in any capacity. I feel we could be friends. Sam, I really enjoy your intelligence. Well, thank you, Jackie. I love your name. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate you. We do. We really do. Fiona sends another 50.
Wow,
Fiona.
thank you.
I agree. 14 days is forever without your baby. Allegations, legal way of lying. I contested my LVO and it was withdrawn, but I lost time without my daughter. I hope Justin learns it's easy to love your child more than you dislike your ex. Yeah, I mean, I had said this too. If 14 days without my daughter when she was 4 months old, I don't know. I could see a world where I would have been that desperate also. It's just, the idea is it's 2 weeks seems like 2,000 years for a new mom.
And to this point, even with the Hawaii case, let's just say there was a fight, a physical fight. You're basically going to the court and trying to have your baby's father taken away from them for the rest of their life, right? So I know that you say I was attacked and there's that, right? But you're also the parents, and it's tough when you're going through divorce because you always want to get out that spouse, like you want it to, but every time you do that, you're really harming your kids. So if you really do love your kids, you sometimes have to let the ego go, as hard as it is, and do what you can for them. And I don't know how the Hawaii case really applies into that, but if you were the wife in that situation and you know that you're going to send the father of your kids away for life, he would be better off out and maybe working and supporting you. Like there's a lot that goes on when you make this decision.
I agree with you 100%.
It.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's not to say you can't make claims when you are abused. Obviously there's some conflict there and I don't know what happened, but you have to think about the long-term consequences for your children. Now, if you don't have children, it's a different situation.
Oh no, you're 100% right. And I don't think Justin, going back to kind of groupthink, it seems like Justin was acting very impulsively. He is very impulsive. I do not think he had thought this all the way through. There was a real groupthink that got like delusional. It really did in the course of a few days. He seemed swept up in it. But even that same day, you got to hear their texts. He's like calling her Kels, and you don't get the sense that he really understood what was going on. Like you just don't get the sense that he has any kind of ego strength at all. That just these siblings, his parents, are just much stronger personalities, and they kind of were running the show here. So I think you are right. And in the Hawaii case, that's a great question. I've been asking that question too. And I think it's an important one, and one that we will get back to because I have been asking that also.
And in fairness, I don't know much about the Hawaii case. I know less about Kelsey from what you're telling me. So you got to get more information.
Karma Dharma 8 cents, $2. Do you think Noonan, Daly, Houston still hear Caden's cry? You know what? These guys, I will tell you this. I think that, first of all, Houston was the only police officer who came and visited Kelsey in the hospital. To me, you could see he really did not want to testify. But also he was put in a tough situation because he knows that there's going to be pressure from his lieutenant, from the other guys in the department to support Noonan's story. But also he was friends with Kelsey and he knows that they did her dirty. So he was, and you could see, he did not want to be there. He even the way he was seated, he was like, had one foot out the door, and the way, this is something that came up in Kelsey's testimony. These guys, they really do have PTSD. I mean, she talked about the first couple of calls that she had to go on were nightmare, bloody. A baby was slaughtered at the hands of their parent. And one of the reasons that Noonan reaches out to her is to say, like, hey, this is how I've dealt with difficult calls like this in the past. And everybody at the department had known that Kelsey had had a few of those right away as a rookie cop, and we're trying to offer support for that. So, these cops, and this is the thing, like, Noonan had been so well trained to shoot, yet he misses her, which is, of course, speaks to his level of surprise. But also, they're not trained to deal with this. You're trained to deal with a hostage situation. You're trained to deal with, a shooting, somebody shooting at you, but obviously not trained to deal with somebody who has a gun to their own head. And,
Yeah.
Sad. It's sad. I think it's very possible, Karma Dharma, because these guys, they all have PTSD in the end. I mean, you can see it in all the cop shows that we all love, right? When the retired cops talk about their careers, they get very emotional very fast. At Justin, you're a loser guy. This is a great name.
So mean.
You're a loser guy. That's Julie Nagel's brother. Sends $5. I don't know if Vince knows that the grand jury would not indict her for attempted murder, and they'll indict a ham sandwich. Laugh out loud. And Justin is a loser. He so is. He's so.
Well, that answers that then. So they did pursue attempted murder, which is, I mean, imagine if you're really facing that in addition to all the other issues that you're facing.
I'm so glad
surviving.
you said that, because that was, I believed that. I thought that the original charge was attempted murder, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I didn't want to say it if it wasn't true. So thank you for correcting us, or informing us to the situation. Okay, let's get to the rest of the video. You want to do the rest of the video? Let's do that, and then we can take a little break. All right, let me just bring us back up. You're a loser guy.
Was represented at the time. Karen was not alone. She had a PI, and her attorney was there. And so attorneys know that once a witness is represented, you can't just go contacting that witness yourself, right? You've got to go through their attorneys. But they did not do that.
You're going to see the PI go to the door. And upon arriving on Brian Higgins Street, he lives on a dead end, they parked their full-size SUV at the end of the street, fully obscured by like a tree line.
Next, I'm an investigator with the defense team from Karen Reed. And we were here and just wanted a few minutes to talk to you.
Play it again.
Next, I'm an investigator with the defense team from Karen Reed. And we were here and just wanted a few minutes to talk to you.
So she's saying she's part of Karen Reed's team, and they want to talk to.
Get out of here. What is he saying?
I can't make out what he's saying. I would be curious if anyone else can analyze this for us once video is done.
Let me just play this one more time.
Okay, again.
Sounds like get out of here.
And we were here and just wanted a few minutes to talk to you.
I don't know.
It's like da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. I don't know what.
Could be speak to my attorney.
On Brian Higgins Street. He lives on a dead SUV
I think
at the end of the street, fully obscured by like a tree line.
Next, I'm an investigator with the defense team from Karen Reed. And we were here and just wanted a few minutes to talk to you.
Play it again.
Next, I'm an investigator with the defense team from Karen Reed. And we were here and just wanted a few minutes to talk to you.
I do not know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know women like my wife, you love analyzing this stuff to catch us cheating, and I think you can make it out if you really take the time, and you can hear the cadence of it. I think the girls do say what they believe Brian said. I don't know if Brian told them what he said. That may be in part of this video.
Okay.
So she's saying she's part of Karen Reed's team, and they want to talk to Brian, and Brian immediately says, no, I'm not going to talk to you. If you take a look at who they sent to the door, my understanding was always that Karen Reed's private investigator was named Paul Mikowski, probably a man 10 years older than me, doesn't look like this beautiful young woman. So this young, attractive woman. So Brian says, yeah, no, I'm not going to talk to you. He goes into the house and goes out his back door. and he goes out his back door, and that is when he is able to see this SUV that's out there, that's parked down the street out of his view, which if he walked out and he saw this woman, he wouldn't know that car was there. And who is standing outside the SUV but Alan Jackson himself? And Alan Jackson is well aware that he has absolutely no business trying to contact a represented witness directly. My understanding as well is that Karen was in the car. So I think Karen really thought she could manipulate Brian. She thought she could do the same thing she did with Lucky. Obviously, she didn't know Brian, because Brian is a man of character and Brian is a man of values.
But it's very telling about when Karen actually tries to contact Higgins and about what. So if her narrative is true, we already know that morning she never called to ask him, knowing that he was there at that house that night. She never calls to ask him what happened. If he knew what happened, tell me anything about that.
Wait a minute. What is she saying here?
No, this is important.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I won't reveal. One of the people in our group has said the same thing to me straight away when I met them, that Karen was not asking Brian Higgins, you were there, what the fuck happened to John? I dropped him off. He went into the house. Once I know you're there, what the fuck happened to him? This is on that day, January 31st. Why is Karen not forcing Brian Higgins to tell her what happened? That's what the Beautiful Tuesdays say.
Okay.
He was there at that house that night. She never calls to ask him what happened. If he knew what happened, tell me anything about that night. Like, I need to know what happened to John. Like, just any events of the night, just tell me. She never reached out to him. The only time she reached out to him was to text him and say John was dead. Here is the PI female going to the door. Like, what is this lady doing? What are they seeking out? What is their intent? And why didn't Karen actually reach out to Higgins during any of the normal days of time asking him questions?
And it was later learned that the Mass State Police interviewed the driver, the SUV driver, who acknowledged that earlier in the day, they picked up these people at the Omni in Seaport. We know that's their favorite hotel, right? And transported them to Sandwich before proceeding to One Meadows, which is John O'Keefe's residence, where we all know, right? Because that's the day that Karen and her team right here that y'all see was seen at One Meadows, and they also called MSP, remember, because they had a restraining order and she was not supposed to be near them.
Brian Higgins.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so this is interesting. We know that there was a time when Karen was almost arrested because she went to One Meadows, right?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was it. Same day, right.
So same day. But the question lies first. Can you contact a witness, a non-party that's represented by an attorney? The answer is sort of yes and no. You as the attorney generally can't, but in a criminal case where there is a witness, you can approach them with your PI, have the PI, not send the PI, but the PI can do and ask if you want to answer any questions. That's your obligation. It's a witness. It's not a party. Right. Compare that to if I'm suing you, you have an attorney, I have an attorney. My attorney can't contact you directly because you're represented, but you and I are both parties in a lawsuit. Brian Higgins is not a party, he's a witness. He's a represented witness, so there is some restriction, but a personal investigator can at least ask if he wants to ask any questions. And in fact, that's probably their obligation to do so because you want to see if he's willing to do so. But the Beautiful Tuesday brings up the point, why wasn't Karen asking these questions before Brian Higgins, the innocent witness, retains an attorney or just straight away?
Yeah.
And we've been asking that same thing, and it's interesting.
I have a lot of questions for Karen, because for me, I don't know, does she know he's there? How soon after does she realize that he was at the house at the after party? Is she aware when she pulls out front? Does she see the Jeep? Does she recognize the Jeep? Those are all questions that we don't have the answers to. And because I don't know the answer to that, I don't know whether this is a valid point, right? I don't know, because so soon after this happens, they are given this information about Colin and Brian it immediately starts to then become the perceptual field that they're seeing everything through. It seems like she really believes that Higgins is not involved from the start. So why not try to make him a witness on your team?
No, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Whether or not he's for or against, you want to know what this witness is going to say. It doesn't make a difference. You want to know. That way you can combat it in court or not. But their point they're bringing up is, why does she believe that Higgins is on her side at this time, that they can actually flip him using an intentionally attractive female personal investigator, private investigator?
Yeah. I mean, I hear what their point is, but I don't know what it has to do with Karen's guilt, right? I mean, I think she's trying to make the point that Karen doesn't actually think, just like we have been asking, that he's involved. And I agree. I mean, but there's a reason, and you and I have spoken about this endlessly. She doesn't think he's involved because the person who comes to them and gives them this tip doesn't say he's involved.
And that's the one part, but we also know the other part, for which Karen, in her mind, could be excluding Brian because she believes that she would be culpable, not in a legal sense, but in a mental sense, making her look poorly because she knows Higgins had a motive. She has to know because she's the one who caused it.
That's a good point. Does she realize? So at what point does Karen realize that Higgins has a motive?
Yeah, and in fairness to Karen, I don't believe she thinks that Higgins had the capability of doing this because he was so good at keeping it a secret, right? And there was no animosity 20 minutes earlier when they were all together.
Right.
Why would you kill John at the party, or why would there even be a conflict at the party? And this goes back to something I asked everyone to find, and I did find it in the Rotten Mango interview with Karen, where she does represent that John is willing to fight if he's drunk or not drunk, but he's not a passive guy, especially not when he's drinking. So it goes back to the question, was John going to 34 Fairview knowing that he's possibly getting into a fight? And then what the girls are asking is, if Karen, if you believe that there's this big conspiracy, why are you not questioning Higgins straight away?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. She does reach out to him, and I guess it's really about timing. Does she immediately feel rejected? Because I think, actually, I'm answering my own question now. I think in the 48 hours immediately following this event, Karen didn't know what happened. She's kind of still coming out of both trauma and shock and being drunk that day, not having slept, right? She's being displaced from her home because all her stuff was at John's. Suddenly, in like a second, her entire life is altered forever. The course of her life, one day is going this way, and the next is another. And now she knows that all these people think she did this, right? I mean, they're immediately making the argument. The cops are making the argument. They take her car. They think she kills John. I don't think she knew what happened in those first couple of hours. And I don't even think she had the presence of mind to consider anybody in the house as culpable. That's why she doesn't call. That's why, to Tuesday's question, she doesn't call Brian Higgins, because she doesn't think that they had anything to do with it at all. She immediately, and this goes back to the kind of person Karen is, assumes maybe I did hit him. Maybe I did clip him. Maybe this was my fault somehow. I left him there. I shouldn't have left him there. And I bet you the guilt about leaving him was huge, because, and I just realized that right now. I don't know why I never thought about that before, but the fact that if I don't leave him, nothing happens. So for her, there's this feeling, I'm sure, of like, no matter what happened, I shouldn't have left him there because this wouldn't have happened. So I think in those first few days, she's totally out of sorts, and she's blaming herself one way or the other. And that's why she doesn't call Brian, and then by the time she comes out of that and is told that the people in the house are responsible, then you got to be careful. I mean, now what?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I agree with you. She had an innocent reaction to everything that happened here, except when she hears that I may have clipped them, it's even more innocent. Maybe I did. She even says that. And most guilty people, or potentially, yeah, maybe I did. Like just thinking out loud, maybe I did. When the facts come out that it's impossible she hit him with the SUV, then it transitions into something else. And I don't fault Karen. I never did. And I'm not going to reveal someone who really was like really criticizing her for not naming Brian straight away, despite the fog, despite being hungover. And yeah, it's like my friend Emily R. that said this. I don't want to reveal the true person, right? I'll call her Emily R. said this. And I didn't agree with it initially, but I sort of do now, at least a week after. Karen has to know that this is the person that most likely was involved. And again, I say it all the time, whatever it was, this was the person. The only one with the motive, and you knew it. Yeah. And that's what the girls are getting at here. It's
I see that. It is interesting, though, that they actually took the step in September. It must have been 2023. It has to be before trial 1. They see him as such a neutral party, someone Karen actually thinks is closer with her enough to actually take the stand in support of them. I mean, that is interesting.
Right. Yeah. That's what they were saying either before or after, that they thought they can flip Brian Higgins. You can't flip him because he's the one who did it. But in her mind, she thought she was close enough. And Karen strategically thinks things out. They're not necessarily the best strategy, but it is a strategy. Let's send in a female that basically looks like her almost, a skinny little girl. Maybe Brian will react to that. Now, I do want to take a little bit of a break, but I do want to think about this. Does the real importance of this video indicate Brian Higgins is paranoid as fuck because he knows one day there will be a knock at the door and it won't be a private investigator that's hot. It will be the FBI or somebody coming to arrest you. And that's the biggest fear you have. I've never committed a crime, but when I go to sleep, and I never commit a crime that's like this, where it's forever, right? It's killing somebody. You go to sleep and you never know when that day is going to come, when the FBI or whoever it may be, the state police will be knocking on your door. And it's a paranoia that humans have unless you're a psycho. And yeah, he's got that. And I want to talk about that after we get back from our break.
Yeah. And then we've got a lot of stuff we got to read too. So let me pull up. We are going to start an episode. This is hilarious. Let me make sure that it's ready to pull up. We are going to start this episode. Here we go. Wait one sec. Add to the stage of Why Karen is Innocent, Part 2 of Rehoming. If you haven't seen this, it's hilarious, and you don't need to see the first one to see this one. This is Fervent, and this is the series, the comedic series, sitcom on the McAlberts.
Love it. Great job.
We'll get a chance to check this out as a preview, and we will be back very soon. Let me just pull this up, and then I'll take us off the screen.
Have you seen Chloe?
No.
Where could she be?
Maybe she's with Higgins' phone. Did you check the military base?
There ain't no party like a McAlbert third party. There ain't no party like a McAlbert third party. There ain't no party like a McAlbert third party. There ain't no party like a McAlbert third party. Now they're out here calling us the House Defendants. How the hell do we even contest this? Yes, Karen really, really, really wants her vengeance. Oh shit, now we're known as the House Defendants. House Defendants. We the House Defendants. We the House Defendants. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to be a House defendant.
You ready?
Yeah, totally.
So where was Higgins's Jeep?
In the driveway?
Wrong. It was at the mailbox. That's on page 227 of the script. Come on, Matt.
Hey, Mr. Higgins, here to dump more phones? Nope, just cutting through. Here you go. Thanks, Mr. Higgins.
Chloe! Are you even looking? Aren't you an investigator?
I'm a Boston cop, not animal control.
How about this? When they ask about my emotions that night, what are you going to say?
I'll say you were shockingly calm.
No, Matt. Shock and horror. Those are the buzzwords. Did you even read the script?
Hey, you're cute.
And you are double trouble.
Want to get out of here?
What do you want?
To hang out, Netflix and chill?
You want to watch Netflix with me?
Never mind.
She'll be back.
I need to do something to get her off my mind. Want to go upstairs?
Careful. Last time we did that, I butt dialed Higgins.
When they ask about the guy, what are you going to say?
Easy. The guy never came in the house.
You forgot the punchline. It's not a story, it's a fact. We'll both say that exact line. Nobody will think it's suspicious.
Yes.
Who should I text? Hey, Kelsey. I heard your boyfriend kind of sucks. If you're looking for a decorated dude, text me back. You are so smooth.
How did it go?
Oh, terrible. They have all our texts. Like, all of them. We're so screwed. Well, good luck, honey.
Honey!
Mom! Dad? I brought Chloe home! They sleep through everything.
Hello? Oh, Brian.
John never went in the house. It's not a story, it's a fact.
John never went in the house. It wasn't a story. It was the truth. And it is the truth.
It's pretty good. I always think
Hey, when you got Furby, who really needs cable? Bring your moms and sons together like
how hard it must be to put those together. I can't, I mean, the stuff that he's doing, it was pretty cool. There was a video, I was going to show this one, but I had trouble finding it right before. Fervin put up a video on how he makes the songs, which was really cool. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was really interesting. But the sitcom, how is he doing that? That has got to be so incredibly difficult. Have you seen the sitcom that Fervin is doing?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
How hard is that though, right?
It's tough because there's AI slop and there's things that you have to keep manipulating and doing, but it's getting a lot better. It's getting a lot crazier too. And even for our kids,
like the
our
AI
life,
systems, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what it is. And you no longer can trust video anymore. Like it used to be when there's a picture, oh, it's Photoshop. Now the video makes things a hell of a lot different and a hell of a lot crazier for the world, for better or for worse.
Yeah, for sure. Be interesting to see how this is all going to shake out long term, but for our purposes, it's pretty funny. It's really hilarious. It really is. And he put out a video, I was just saying, where he shows us how he makes his songs. And actually, would never have guessed that he's doing it the way he does it. It's pretty amazing. He does.
How does he do it?
Some of the singing himself, and then puts that in the system, and then uses that as like a way to, add stuff to the voice or change the vocals or whatever. But I thought it was so cool that he does it himself. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's amazing talent. It's crazy all the talent that comes up, like even the microdots and everything. It's just like from this, you see all the people that are really great at what they do.
So true. Thank God for microdots, right? If you haven't checked out microdots, definitely check out the Kelsey videos. They did a reenactment of the shooting, which is cool. They do a video that gives us the longer story recently, which is awesome. So yeah, they're fantastic. And of course they helped during the trials, which was critical. So did you see any of the series that Aussie Insider has been doing, working on the FOIA dump, going through all the videos to determine their credibility. Fascinating.
Not yet. Yeah, and I'm sure she takes swipes at me. I love when she does that from Australia.
I don't think she does. Yeah. I have not heard them in this video yet. In these videos.
I mean, yeah, maybe because I haven't made any claims about. So she's saying that some of the video may be altered.
So what she's doing, it's fascinating. She's gone through essentially, I don't know how she does this. She's brilliant. She's doing a full forensic analysis of all of the files. And she's using the ones that have very little to no alteration as the controls. And because she's doing that, she can see how they essentially approached the processing of all of these videos. And anywhere that there is something that is discrepant from the controls, she's able to then go, all right, these are the ones I got to focus on. And then she's going way into doing forensic analysis of every pixel, every frame, the whole thing, and pointing out exactly where these videos were edited. Now, when you look closely at these videos, it's not even hard to see. Like the one that I showed it during the open with the tailgate, you can actually see there is a clear line on the tailgate where they cut out a frame from a different video and place it into the frame here. And she's absolutely right. There's no snow that goes past this one portion of the car at any point. So there's that. Then there's the contrast. I mean, look, we knew they were edited. I mean, they even had made a motion to use videos that were edited and altered during the trial, before trial 2 specifically. And she knows a lot more than I do about the pretrial motions that are hard to find for some reason. I would love somebody at some point to take all the pretrial motions and put them in a video, because I can't find them all. I've tried. But she also is pointing out how they went about it, the process, and it's fascinating. And again, it's not like we didn't know. We had be in trouble pointing out just from what we could see, but she's actually going in. And if I'm Karen Reed, to me, this is forensic evidence. I don't know how you don't use this in your cases.
Yeah. And I was thinking that you were asking about what Karen knew before we took a break, and we will be able to get that from the depositions. For certain, the attorneys that are defending the defendants in one and the plaintiffs in the other are going to ask all those questions. So we will get a lot more information once the civil trial proceeds and the deposition transcripts or videos are leaked somehow or just attached to different motions. So we don't have a right to see them technically, but if they do attach any of those documents or they're just released by the attorneys, then we can see. It's a little bit different than criminal court.
So, and I guess after the fact, we would be able to see them. Is that right?
Yeah, well, maybe even during, because if you have a depositions are going to take place, they may be taking place right now, way before any type of trial, and most likely the parties will move for summary judgment, which means they want to win the case without going to trial or make a motion to dismiss, similar thing, and they will attach transcripts from the various depositions. And if the parties leak them, that's another thing too. There's probably nothing wrong with doing that as well, just having them disclosed because it's a civil trial.
Right. So the other thing is, it turns out, I guess there's going to be 3 civil cases now, because the claims that Karen is bringing against the police, I guess they can't be brought in the federal case. Based on some Massachusetts law. I didn't understand the legality
that's
of it all.
interesting.
Yeah.
I saw that in your opening, so I didn't see that originally. So there's another lawsuit filed already?
Well, there's an intent to file another lawsuit. So it's not actually filed yet. There's some intent, and I guess it's because or related to having to pull out the cops specifically based on, I think, Massachusetts law. And I could be getting this a little off, but my understanding is that that would have to be sorted out in Massachusetts and cannot be sorted out at the federal level for some reason.
Interesting. That could be the case.
I don't know exactly what the differences are, though.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I would just be speculating now. But there definitely are claims that, in theory, have to be brought in the state or vice versa, has to be brought in federal court. Although a lot of times you can overlap, but maybe there is some weird loophole in Massachusetts where you actually have to bring state claims in state court. That would be interesting. I'll look into it. I didn't know when that was from.
Yeah, it's very recent. It was just a couple days ago, maybe not even. And yes, so I know that the Proctor deposition was scheduled first, so that may have already happened. I don't know. And then there was a motion against him that Karen's team brought to be able to use the material about the cell phone from the Commonwealth. And she's agreed to keep it confidential. So there's that also. And then Betterow brought up an interesting point, and this was what they were arguing initially, that could they essentially use their defense during the civil case against Karen brought by John's family as her plaintiff case, because of the fact that there's going to be so much overlap amongst witnesses and depositions and all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they chose to file it separately, which I agreed with.
Right.
Probably not. Probably everything has to be done independently unless the parties can stipulate to, meaning the parties agree to it. Judges won't give a shit if you can legally do it. They want you to do that. And the more you can agree to going into any type of trial, the better on behalf of everybody. Again, there's different rules because it's not a criminal case anymore. So there's a lot more flexibility amongst all the parties with regard to what they can and cannot do.
And based on what you know about the civil trial or civil legalities, when do you estimate any of these cases would make it to trial, would actually be happening?
It could be a year, it could be 2 years. I had one case that went 14 years till we got to trial. And again, there's no time frame. There's no mandatory speedy trial, which there is generally in a criminal case. So there's no way you could say that this is going to trial by next month or a year from now. Most likely it will and can be delayed even when you have a trial date. So don't expect anything that fast with regard to an actual trial, especially in a federal court. Sorry,
it's going to be
federal
court
court sucks because there's no cameras, but yeah, the state court will potentially allow cameras.
Right, I know. That's the other thing. Yeah. I really hope that we end up getting, we'll have the 2 trials in the state courts for sure, but it would be such a tragedy to not get the good stuff from the federal case. It's like we'll have to go with transcripts. Yeah,
or
it's
go
tragic.
There.
Or go there, yeah, for sure. At Chelaquin08 sends $1.99, and can everyone stop calling Noonan the victim? Absolutely, Noonan is not a victim. Don't worry, I will help in that effort for sure. There's never been less of a victim on the planet than that guy. He's just not a victim. It's a shame because I think one of the things that comes out in Kelsey's testimony, which I would encourage you to listen to all the way through if you haven't, Vince, because she does kind of explain the character of all these people, and you really get the sense that there's just she's not mean. Kelsey's just not a mean person. And it comes across very matter-of-factly in her testimony. She trusted them and saw him as, kind of a caring guy. It's just shocking to me, maybe shouldn't be, but that all these cops, one-on-one with Kelsey, were so different than they were when they're like big, strong, tough guys all together. It's just, it's so obvious how different they were with her than they were with each other. Fascinating.
Yeah. Should we use the word hero instead of victim?
It's cute. At Rudy Gallegos, 7,000 sends $10. Justin is a sack of poo-poo. He's such a liar. Did you see the video of him breaking into Kelsey's house twice with fellow firefighters? Yes. And then to find out that after he does that, and remember, he has a restraining order on Kelsey. So he's breaking into a house that he has no rights to, no business being in, and technically has a restraining order against. And he then takes her things, takes her computer, and then goes into her bank account, takes money, goes into her pension benefits, changes the beneficiary. It's nuts. It's nuts.
How did he not get charged for that unless he had authority to do so?
The Commonwealth will not charge him. That's why.
For that, though? I mean, that's... If what you're saying is true and he's stealing from her, how is he not charged criminally?
They stood up in court and said, we are not going to charge him. That's Why, I don't know, because they're the Commonwealth. Because I think they needed his testimony, or they thought they may have needed it in the case. I think that was the argument he made, the lawyer, the prosecutor.
Yeah, and there's another situation where if you can't indict for attempted murder, why are you going to waste the time with the assaults? I didn't know that at all. Again, I'm limited with my facts to this case, but that seems like such a waste of energy. These people need to heal, and I'm not saying like physically heal. They all need to forgive each other too. I don't believe anyone here is trying to harm each other or intentionally, right? So it's like, if you all did that, the anger would go away and you focus on the real issue. She needs to get her baby back.
Yeah, and she is. That's what the focus is on now. At Brenda's 6461 sends $5, sends a super sticker. Thank you, Brenda's.
Thank you.
And she says he's saying not interested, which is an interesting choice of words. He's saying not interested, which is an interesting choice in words.
I believe that's me, and I don't want to put it down. It's just, I never spoke about this with us privately. I don't know. Actually, was it you that said, "Oh, not guilty"? And I had no idea what the hell you were talking about. Like I wasn't following it, and you thought, "Oh, come on." I'm like, no. I'm like, I was doing something totally irrelevant. Probably watching basketball or something. Yeah, it's just something I don't have interest. I'm trying to solve one goddamn murder case in the state. I can't deal with all these other cases. I just can't do it. I just was not in this case at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just
no.
not.
It's I kind of had felt that way about the Afro Man case until I kind of learned a little bit more about it, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting, because then there was also the other layer where the judge after the fact wants him to pay for some of the court fees, which is, so that happened also. But I understand when you're just not interested, you're not interested. I get that.
Yeah, I just wasn't. Sorry, just not.
Also, there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
Right? I mean, there really is only so much time in the day.
None of us are in really great relationships. I mean, you are, but you don't get to see your fiance most of the time, so you do have the time,
at least
I guess.
Not right now. But I don't have the time, because if I'm not doing this, then I'm actually working with clients, and makes it really, really hard. And then I have a dissertation to write. Hi, Kit. Kit's here. She is a member for 5 months. The cadence sounds like out of the question. Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Out of the. Can you remember that? Should I write that down? Out of the question. I will forget that if I don't write it down.
I do want to know what Higgins said.
Out of the question. That could very well be. I don't know that Julie is actually saying what he says in that clip as much as the essence of what he said, which was no way or something along those lines.
Which is odd, because if you're innocent and your friend died, wouldn't you want to help both sides and disclose everything to both sides?
Doesn't make any sense. But none of them will talk to her. Sarah won't talk to them. None of them will. Julie, none of those people.
I don't believe either of those two had anything to do with actually harming John. But for Brian Higgins, if you're innocent, you should be welcoming private investigators everywhere, right? If you would speak to one, right? You didn't have any connection to the murder, but if they asked you, you'd speak to both sides because you're innocent.
Who cares? Right. If you have nothing to do with anything and you're just a witness, why not? I mean, what's the big deal? Right. I think, however, I will say that the sense I'm getting strongly from this town and this community is that people are afraid of Brian Albert. I don't know why. I cannot speak to why, but it seems to be something that, or maybe Jen McCabe, I don't know, that there does seem to be legitimate fears. There are a number of reasons why I say that I can't disclose, because I promised people that I wouldn't. But some stuff has come out, whatever, and there's real fear about him, his power, whatever. And like I said, perhaps Jen as well. And so it does seem like people don't want to mess with them and were reluctant in this case to come completely forward because they're local, because they don't want to. And I'm not talking about Julie and Sarah, though that's different. I'm talking about other people as well.
Interesting. I don't know what they think that Tubby is going to do to them, but
I don't know. Okay. Maybe just make their lives difficult, I guess.
And look I have one stalker. Now she's claiming that's my baby in there now, which is always great.
That's a great pregnant picture.
I know, it's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Probably. Out of a
At Maid of Questions, I think you'd probably know, sends $5. She thought a plow at Rando Car did it. Oh, yeah. Whose first thought would be it was the cops. That's why she didn't call Brian. She also, yeah, I agree with you, Maid of Questions. I think there were probably a number of reasons. And the funny thing is, she probably would have if he had responded to that text. If he had responded and he had said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, she probably picks up the phone right then and there and does call him. But the fact that he ghosted her, I don't know if she thought that he thought that's my guess. My guess is she's thinking in that moment when he doesn't respond, oh my God, they think I had something to do with this. And just that feeling of like, oh my God, people think I had something to do with it. I think that was what was causing Karen to freeze. That's the reason why when she goes to the house, Paul O'Keefe, in his brilliance, is so convinced that she's guilty because she acts weird. Well, she was acting weird because she could sense and felt that everybody was accusing her of doing something to him and didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, Karen's not insecure, I guess, like me or someone that's in the normal. I feel like she's very secure in herself, and the fact that Brian doesn't respond to her doesn't necessarily scare her. I would be nervous, like, why is this guy not responding back? And then never contacts her ever again for what we know, which is what a lot of people point to as his guilt. Meaning, if you had nothing to do with this, why are you not speaking to Karen? You were just pursuing her so hard 12 hours prior.
Right.
Now you don't know. But think about when Brian gets that text. So it's 11. He's probably back at Camden PD. He just spent the night after murdering someone or being involved in the death of someone, planting the body, spending the morning getting that beautiful news that Karen admitted at 7 a.m. from Jen that potentially she hit him in the broken taillight. And now he's 11, he's back at Canton, and he gets a text from Karen, John died. And he knows, obviously, John died. He was there facilitating the movement of the body. It's a weird situation to be in.
It is. You got it. And actually, I wanted to pull this question up. I started. Let me see if I can find it. I thought it was right here, and I really wanted to read it. Somebody was asking before we came in today, and I did start, and it's gone now. Somebody was asking specifically about a really good question about motive beforehand. I'll just keep reading, and maybe we will be able to find it here, because I really wanted to ask that question. It was a good one. Didn't she text Ryan? Here, this one? Yeah, so she did text Brian, John died, and he did not reply to your question. He did not reply.
Yeah,
that's right.
I believe that was at 11 in the morning, that morning, January 29th. Right. And there was no response from Brian Higgins.
That's right. And at that point, he is at the police station, as you pointed out.
Right. And I was speaking about my new best friend, John, how they eventually meet with Brian a few days later. Brian already has an attorney. They're meeting at the attorney's house, and Brian presents them with the evidence that he wants them to see from his phone. And neither Yuri or Proctor see any problem with that at all.
And he tells them that they kissed.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I forgot that too, right? Because then Yuri asked, well, did you have sex with John? No. Did you have sex with Karen? No. Did you have sex with both of them together? I love how he used commas in his report. So,
I know. So funny. Very funny. Well, yes, that's a whole other line of discussion we can talk about at a different point. But so the question that came up earlier was, why would the chief of police have called Brian Higgins at 6:30 in the morning if John wasn't even pronounced dead until 7:30 in the morning? That was the question that somebody was asking earlier.
Well, what could the possible... One, the chief could just be saying, hey, John O'Keefe was found dead. But would the chief know that there's a connection between John O'Keefe and Brian Higgins?
According to Brian Higgins, no.
Yeah, I don't think he would either. So why would he call?
Right.
Other than say, I mean, a cop dying in his jurisdiction probably isn't a common thing. So it could have been innocent, that initial call by Berkowitz. And Berkowitz, I think, is going to get manipulated by Brian Higgins. He will eventually. I don't know Berkowitz. I don't know his personality, but I don't think he was actively seeking to help Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, or even get pin it on the girl if that's his deal was. But the question is, when does he find out?
My guess is Lank or one of those guys, Lank or Good, calls him up and says, Brian Higgins was here at the house with Brian Albert and Nicole Albert and Jen McCabe. And that's why he calls at 6:30, because Lank knew who was at the house that night right away, even though the MSP doesn't get the statements until much later. So the Massachusetts State Police, remember, are a separate agency. They don't even start talking. They're not involved until after 11, 12, later in the day. But the chief, Berkowitz, would have had all of this information immediately from Mike Lank and Sergeant Sean Good.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were following the case at the time, but there was a time when Colin was not in the house, according to any of the documents. Then you get the tip that Colin was the one that killed John, and then you find out Colin was at the house. So that must have been a huge issue, I presume, if you're following it in real time. So I wasn't. And then, of course, I don't blame people for thinking Colin was involved. And yeah, you can legitimately say Colin was in the house.
Right.
And that goes back to sort of like groupthink. Now you were speculating, but now you know you think that they lied to you, they misrepresented that Colin was even there. Right. So two things can be true. Colin could have been in the house. They omitted it initially, and also he was gone before John got there. Like, those things could all be true. And I believe that they are all true.
Well, they could be, but they also misrepresented when all the kids were there, not just Colin. They misrepresented when, what's her name? Caitlin was there. They misrepresented. We don't know about those girls. I don't know why they always get a pass. I think everybody assumes they really weren't there. I have absolutely no information at all about whether they were truly there or not. I'm sure Aiden does. That would be the person to try to ask more questions about. Why does he believe them when they say that those 3 girls or 4 girls were unequivocally not at the house anymore? But it seems like nobody's ever asked that, or seems like nobody's ever questioned that they were still there. So
that's true.
I have no idea why, though. But they did try in the immediate statements around this whole thing. They don't mention Allie. They don't mention Allie. They don't mention Colin. They don't mention Caitlin, right? I don't even think they mentioned that it was Brian's Jr.'s birthday initially. In the very immediate initial reports. So
yeah, I think you're right with that. And then, of course, the Caitlin time that she's leaving, I don't know if it's a scrivener's error or just an error by these people that are actually making the report, but it was that she was left before even John got there at 12:15 to 12:30. I forgot the exact time. But
that's right. Originally, they say she leaves before. That's right. And then the second line of question. So the first line of questioning with Brian and Nicole, they say she left before John and Karen pull up, and she gets nailed on that and by accident admits it during the trial, Nicole. The second line of questioning, they then have her leaving last, which is very bizarre, but that is, and she admits that every single time she's been asked after the first time, she says that Caitlin left last.
Yeah, and John did say that we can get him and Lucky on the show, on our show. And I do want to ask Lucky about the certainty of the make, the model, the color of the car. I mean, he was very confident during testimony, right? But the car was mostly had a coating of snow on it. I don't know how close he paid attention to the color, because I think he eventually says it's a white Ford Edge. And we know that Brian Albert has a black one.
I don't remember what color he said the Ford Edge was. The one that was parked in front of the house, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm almost certain he said it was white. I'm almost certain. And I know that we don't have a white Ford Edge, I believe, at the house. But I do want to see, like, those cars parked there. Is there a white car at all parked?
Well, also, there's 3 Ford Edges in the family, right? So Colin, I guess, was driving a Ford Edge at one point, I think. Or so I guess Chris Albert's family owns a Ford Edge, and Kevin Albert owns a Ford Edge. So there were 3 different Ford Edges in the family, and I guess part of that is maybe because police officers are sometimes given Ford Edges, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there was 3 different potential possibilities as to whose car that could have been, theoretically.
Yeah. And we got to find out. I mean, it's so critical to this case. Obviously, whoever was involved in it was parked right in front of where John's body was.
I know. It's crazy. Oh, this is so funny. I was just going to bring this up, Rudy. Rudy sends $5 and says, a theory I thought of is Kevin Albert was one of the cops that was there during the 5:30 search. Yeah, I mean, certainly it's an interesting theory. I think he's there very early, whether or not he's one of the cops at the scene. He shows up pretty close. He's there, I think, by 7:15 probably that morning. And I think he's a lot more involved in all of it, in the investigating on that day, the meeting that the MSP has upstairs at the Can PD that then later on Proctor doesn't remember having or whatever. I'm sure he was at that meeting too with Berkowitz. I'm sure they were both there. So I think he was a lot more involved. The problem is we just don't have that much on Kevin. It's hard to dig up stuff on him. There's just not that much out there on him.
I wonder if he's going to be deposed in any of these cases. You would believe that he would be. And again, I don't want to speculate about it because I just don't know anything about him. We didn't see him testify at all, obviously. So I don't know, but it very well could be. I don't know the relationship between him and Brian. Is it strong enough where you can call and count on him to move a dead body at 3 a.m.? I mean, the proverbial call that people talk about, who could you call and trust? And they had to make that decision.
Oh, definitely Kevin Albert is, of course. Brian Albert's brother. Of course they could trust him. He is one of the people that is called all throughout the day from Brian Albert's phone the next day. There's only a few. He is one of them. So he's on the phone with them quite a bit that morning and throughout the next day, along with Berkowitz. He calls. He also calls, obviously, Brian Higgins. So, he knows right away what's going on. He's involved somewhere, somehow. Could it have been his car? I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. But it's a great point, though. Deposing him would be, it's so tough because when I read Karen's theory of the case, the motion that she just, I don't know what that's called technically, legally, but in the civil case, she has to drop their theory of the case. And it's maybe different from my theory of the case, right? So I don't know that if I was writing this case out and I had to put it into a legal document, I'm not sure that it would look exactly the way Karen's does in terms of like what actually happened here. And so I don't know if they think it would be worth it to depose Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, even if it is not in their written pleadings, you could still depose them. Why not? It's just going to take a few hours to do and prepare for. What's the worst that could happen? Is you get absolutely nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. He clearly has a connection to this case. What was the difference in terms of what you're citing that she claimed happened compared to what you thought should have been?
She really focuses mostly on Proctor in terms of police misconduct. And to me, that scope would be much wider. I would probably be bringing in the Canton Police Department. I would just be widening the scope in all likelihood in terms of, level, like who's involved and where those conversations are taking place and who knew what and when did they know it. Because at this point, I think there's enough information to say that, it's very likely that Lank and Good had information that, makes them culpable. Berkowitz certainly would be high up on the list. So I just think that there's more information that they're trying to limit it, which I understand. I think there's more information that we have that might also be helpful.
You bring up a good point because she was asked by that Asian girl, if you had the truth serum and you can inject it into 2 people, who would it be? If I asked you that question, what would your answer be?
Probably Brian Albert and Jen McCabe.
Wow, you guys are nuts. I mean, to me, Brian Higgins got to be number one. I mean, I'm making my whole life as like who I
The only
want to
reason
hear
why I
from.
say not Brian Higgins because I feel like he's much easier to get the truth from. If I
You
only
already have it, is what you're saying?
Right, exactly. Like he's easier to get the truth from. So Brian Albert, because he's impossible to get information out of, and then Jen, because she has like the ancillary information, because she's like a go-between, right? She's like the one that's doing a lot of work after the fact.
Yeah, mine's Higgins and Albert. And Higgins, I want to know, Brian, you can maybe answer this for me. Where did you two have this conflict? Was it right in front of the house? Was it inside the house or to the side of the house? And which side was it? That's it's driving me nuts right now, Brian. I'm going to figure it out.
Wait a minute.
You could tell
where
us.
Where did the actual fight happen,
where did that fight happen? And where did he bang the back of his head?
Right,
Very simple questions, right? Literally where? So if you're Karen, though, and you got that opportunity to use truth serum, this is where you use it. You have to use it on Higgins. You just have to.
Who was the other person? I forgot. She said Brian Albert, right?
No, I don't think she did. She said Proctor for certain.
Yep.
And then, which goes to your point of like where all the initial blame was, because it seems so easy. Proctor's calling me a cunt. Proctor's doing all this, but he didn't kill John, and that's not real. I don't even care about that. I know her case has to be, but I want to know how and when, where Brian Higgins met up with John O'Keefe and he ended up dead. That's what I want to know.
Of course, right.
Where, you know, like,
you
so
want to know
like
the details.
Yeah, I know. So I'm injecting that big boy with that serum.
Totally. That's so funny. This is a great question at Loophole Lady, sends $5. Enzo, when you took on your first murder case, did you anticipate it going this long? Good question.
I did not, nor did I anticipate you getting pregnant 17 months after we last met, but I have to deal with it both. No, I didn't think it would be this long. I really didn't. But again, I love listening, Sam, to the cold case interrogations that are put online now. So basically, they all come in, they say, I didn't know anything about the person that died 20 years ago. And an hour later, the person's confessing. And I love it. And they're true. They're true videos that you hear. And that's the beauty of this case. It doesn't matter. So long as Brian Higgins is alive, we have the opportunity to prosecute him for killing John.
That's right. Yep. And I think that's what will happen here. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but I think that, and hopefully we have the information before all of that. However, I think in time we are certain to get it, because in time, you know, these cops are going to change over. They're going to retire. New people are going to come in. The whole culture of things can change, and that's when we're going to start to get new information, I suspect, if not sooner. At ProGamer515 sends $10. Is there any legal possibility for Justin Alien and his cohorts to face consequences for falsely accusing? That's a great question. Is it legal to weaponize the social judicial process against people you're mad at? What do you say to that? It's a great question.
It would potentially, but it would have to be so egregious where he had absolutely no basis to make the representation. So what did he say to the court to get that initial temporary order of protection?
Yeah. He said that he
know?
feared for his, he said he feared for his life and for the life of the baby. And it was completely baseless.
But why did he say?
Because they were at their Jack and Jill, like, but bachelorette team party at a hotel, I think, over the weekend. And Kelsey and him get into a fight, and then her sisters get involved. Sisters end up trying to beat up Kelsey, and they start accusing her of these crazy things, like trying to run somebody off the road. They kind of think it's a car that looks like Kelsey's. So they actually go to call the police, and the police show up, and Kelsey's like, we've been here like all night. You can check the car. She calls like her brother, I think. She calls whoever was driving, because she wasn't driving, and they show the car. So that was false. But then Justin and his sisters, they just keep kind of like feeding each other with these stories about what Kelsey did. And then he goes to get the restraining order to a judge and says, I fear for the life of my son because she's crazy and she's out of control, and we think she did this and this. And it really was baseless.
Gotcha.
But
gotcha.
I think there may be a way for Justin to face legal consequences, but I'm not sure if that would be it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be. I mean, he probably has some grounds to do it. And you have to be careful because we want to believe all women, and I presume men and women are equal in your mind. And you initially have to believe them in this judicial process because most of the time you are protecting someone that legitimately was getting harmed. And there will be times when it's completely false on both sides. And it's just something in our system that's what you have to deal with.
Right. I think that's a real problem, though. Like I said, this could have all been easily circumvented if the legal system engaged mental health professionals to do an analysis or, to immediately determine whether there really was any type of threat, right? I mean, all they had to do was sit with Kelsey for an hour and it would have been very clear that it was false.
Well, if you back it up to, forget the legal system, did you ever look up the psychology of cold feet when you're about to get married?
What about it exactly?
Just like the fact that it's a legitimate fear. And I did do the psychology of it from a female perspective because I've seen it a lot. I've seen it like a lot of girls actually like hook up while they're engaged before they get married with, cheating, whatever you want to call it, with another person. And then also that fear of, is this the right person for the rest of my life?
Sure.
I feel like females get it more than males. I couldn't remember exactly why. Obviously, there's a biological reason for it. In theory, society is telling you to settle down with this one person, and that the guy that you're settling with is your second choice. Chris Rock said that every woman in here that's married her second choice, and I find that a lot of it is true. I mean, there was that one guy that you were chasing that didn't go with you, right? And then eventually you find the more safer choice. And there's a lot going on psychologically with regard to, obviously I'm generalizing, but for the sake of a joke. But either way, it feels like there's a lot of power struggle going on here, like sort of like immature kids getting married, a lot of that to do with it. And then you get the family involved and they're using you as pawns and this power struggle, especially when you get married and especially when you have kids. There is this power struggle that both sides have. Initially, when you're getting married, it's the sides of the family and the sisters getting involved. Like, again, I don't know all the details, but it sounds like that's what's going on. And then they're pressing him to make this claim. You can't make this general claim against most people, especially in New York. You can't get this temporary restraining order unless it's a family member or someone that actually committed a crime against you. So they've already been arrested. So I can't just go to my local and get a restraining order against Aiden because he's making fun of me, right? You can't do it in New York. So you have to have a very specific connection. So here you do have the connection because there is obviously a family relationship or you're actually having intercourse or some sort of relationship with the person. So you can't just be like a random stranger where I get a temporary restraining order, right? So it's like, even if someone is bothering me, annoying the fuck out of me, I can't get a restraining order against them. And especially the ex parte part, which obviously, again, means that the other party is not there to defend themselves. I
see what you're saying. Yeah. So it can't just be like a random person makes a baseless allegation. It has to be, it's in this case, it was her fiance and it was his child.
Exactly.
Justin, you're a loser guy, sends $2, says, tell Vince about Kelsey's laptop and all the loser trier. Yeah, I mean, he's a total loser. You've never seen anything like it. And, he gets up on the stand. He starts talking about how, he was a rehab counselor. In the meantime, they have legitimately 270 video clips of him ducking out behind the house to smoke weed. Meanwhile, he's a firefighter. He's going to work like that. He's smoking weed like every time, all day, throughout the day. He's the sole custodial parent now, trying to make a case legally to take Kelsey's house, to take all her money, to take everything from her pension, because of nothing, just on total baseless nonsense. It's like astonishing. He's like a loser. I mean, all of the kids live at the parents' house. The guy's a total loser. I mean, he's a total loser. I don't even know how else to say it. He is a total loser. The fact that Kelsey, I don't know what she ever saw in him, but
he's good looking. That's the problem.
He's really not, though, because once you know anything about him, he's such like a putz loser who's like living in his mom's basement for the rest of his life. That's how this is going to go. Can't keep a job. Like he's like a loser. And it's like, it's just astonishing. It's astonishing. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Now I was sort of comparing him to the guy in Hawaii. I think his name is, I pronounce it with Gerhardt. I never heard that name before.
Yep.
Gerhardt. Now he seems like a little twerp. Like she said that he is 5'10", 160. People are saying he's not even 5'10". I feel like she can kick his ass for some reason. Like just physically. Yeah, like he's not even like a strong 160. Yeah, which was odd to me that all this was going on. Now, but when you do see her face, it's definitely bloody. And I'm used to blood from mixed martial arts. This is like massing blood. Like and no one's wiping it away too. Meaning like she's walking down the trail to get out of it after the conflict. And it's just like gobbling. So it looks a lot worse than probably it is.
Absolutely, yes.
But it does look bad. You know,
yes.
Obviously she was struck by a rock. I don't know.
He was too, by the way. He was also beat up pretty bad.
Oh,
he's got scars all over him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have you ever hit a boy?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been hit too. It's weird because I would never ever call the cops.
Never with a rock. I mean.
Oh yeah, no, not with an object, but like women can be.
Not in a long time.
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, at least you're honest about it. You know.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's possible. I didn't hear the openings yet. I just listened to her cross-examination really, and I'm not judging it either way. Like. I was hoping that they would have found the vial and the syringe because that would make this case a hell of a lot easier with regard to murder. Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think.
How many times have you seen those guys that have access to some form of drug? They use the syringe and they.
So here's the thing though with me, like if I'm pushing you off a 5,000 vertical cliff, what do I need drugs for?
I don't know, and I think that the argument they're going to make is that he planned this and he had access to it, therefore. But I think the defense is saying she's making this up.
I know. Yeah, no, the defense is definitely saying she's making it up. Yeah, and did you see the love note that he? Did you read the love note that? I mean, it's like this guy. It's her birthday, by the way. This all happens on her birthday. He actually in a birthday card he makes the love note in the shape of a heart. It's actually in the shape of a heart, like. I don't know that many men that would take the time to put their love note to their wife on their birthday into a shape of a heart. I've seen it with like 14-year-old girls in middle school.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it with an adult man. Not that I'm judging it. I'm just saying I've never seen it. This guy seems like a real mushball to me. He doesn't seem like a serial killer. But again, I don't know enough to make that claim one way or the other.
Could that be to set it up?
Of course.
To make it seem, but he doesn't seem like that.
Of course it could be.
But I agree with you. Like, basically my point was, if you're going to kill someone, you kill him. If you're going to push him off a cliff, you push him off the cliff, because there are certain points where it looks like you can easily fall off. And I love the fact that they have have you ever been to Hawaii?
No.
Oh, so yeah. So like, Hawaii is not generally what you would think of. You would think that it's just like this lush, plush place. It's really steeped in history more than having these luxury beaches. The beaches aren't even that great there. I'm telling you, like Maui has some good beaches, but for the most part, they're rocky. They're very short. And Oahu is so industrial. Like you would not believe. It's like driving down New York City at some points. It's not tropical. You know, there's little parts of it, but either way, when they're going through this, it seemed to me as if like the guy that was even trying to climb the hill, the officer, was like out of breath completely. It was funny because he's asking like, "What are you doing, officer?" He's like, "I'm trying not to die from the exhaustion of like, you know." So then she claimed that she flopped on the ground 10 feet from the cliff, and then it just seems odd to me what's going on. And I'm not saying it's not true. I don't know yet, but you're more suspect of her than I am at this point.
Yeah, which I said I wasn't. I was not. I had no suspicion. I was going into it like fully ready to believe every word she said and expecting to. I was like, oh, this is going to be so boring. I actually had that thought in my head. I'm like, I have to sit there and listen to this. It's going to be boring because I'm just going to have to listen to how this guy beat her up and almost threw her off a cliff. And within seconds, that turned out to be. I was so wrong. Just going based on the language, like just going based on exactly word by word what she says. That's where I was like, oh, this is a completely different animal than I thought it was going to be. So that was why I was so into it, because I couldn't believe, oh, like if she's lying, that's a completely different, like now the story has changed exponentially. Now she becomes, like you were saying, what kind of a person, if she's lying, I'm not saying she is, but if she is, what kind of a person does that to a man that you're married to with 2 small children? Their kids are 2 and 3 years old. She even took his adult son in as her stepson. Now he's living with her. If she is lying, I mean, that's like evil, right? I mean, that's some evil shit.
And I say the word limerence, and I define limerence as being in a fantasy relationship with someone else that realistically would not work, but you believe wholeheartedly and you become obsessed with this person. And she clearly was texting with another married guy who's in the same situation. And
he's
a
married.
lot of trouble happens. And we've seen in most of these cases, there's a lot of limerence going on, a lot of texting going on. Behind the scenes, and that will change the way you treat your current spouse. I guarantee it.
And she deleted a lot of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't blame her. I would do.
Right.
I did. I mean, I would do the same thing if I was in her situation. Yeah. So we're not get to see a lot of it. I can't believe how we in all these cases. I would thought we'd see a hell of a lot more. Even the stuff that she deleted, like it doesn't seem like they're really hardcore sexting. And in the Karen case, and like in all these cases, these guys are in love. Limerence is a fantasy world, but you believe you're in real love, and you do treat your partner differently. Like that card when she's reading it, it's in that morning. She probably thinks it's okay, but she'd rather be texting the mundane details of her life to this guy who's not there, right? They're not paying the bills. There's no stress. There's no kids. And he's married. He's not going to leave his wife for her. And that's what she was doing. So you have to factor that into it. And the coolest thing was, and where I ended my video was, after she gets caught cheating and sexting, she does, this is interesting. She goes to they go to counseling and they get this self-help book. But there was a line in there that the defense attorney said that was very interesting. It had to deal with secrecy is what broke the trust, but then do you know the line I'm talking about? But openness
of course I know the
repairs
line.
it.
Yes, absolutely.
So
then
he
secrecy. Yes, go ahead.
So he wanted to have the advice is that all passwords are shared, everything on the phone is shared, because that's where the secrecy was. That's where the paranoia is, and it's not even paranoia. It was true. Like this is what happened. He found it out, and then they go through all this. And then part of it is obviously you stop talking to the guy that you're sexting with as part of the healing process that they agree with. But after all is said and done, the married guy comes back after he's arrested, after he's facing trial. And that's where I ended it. I'm like, okay, now it comes back. And did they start to communicate again? I don't know the answer to all that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
They were looking at counseling and books about how to heal and come back from an affair. And the secrecy is what started the problem, and then openness is what heals it, right? So,
yes.
And I definitely had a reaction, sounds like similar to you, about, giving my phone over. Like, it's like that. I mean, I get it. I understand the premise is like, I have nothing to hide, but it does seem odd, the idea of like my husband having to check my phone every night to make sure I'm telling the truth. Like that feels a little icky.
It does.
Also.
But if you're in his situation, you you don't want to have to do this. And generally, if you're in a relationship, you don't have to do this. You're not even fearful. But she did it. And if you're committed to staying into this relationship, it is something that will at least help the guy's mind. Now, are you a real man if you have to keep checking the phone of your girl? And I wouldn't want my wife, I mean, she does, but I don't want her to check my phone. Because sometimes you're joking around, either way. Or, you sexting with another girl.
Whatever.
Sometimes, she catches you. So I don't want that either. And it's not really a fun relationship to be in. But she was committed to making this up. So you got to stick to what I guess you're being told to do. Now, would you ever give that advice to people in similar situations?
I don't know. I've never worked with a couple who was able to mend their relationship or who had any desire, to be fair, to mend their relationship. I've worked with couples to help essentially broker the separation. And when I started with them, I knew it was over. They didn't always, but I knew. But I could see if an affair like this is what made the rupture, and both parties are telling me we desperately want to try to work it out. It's certainly something I might consider. I might try to find a different way to do it so that it doesn't feel like he then all of a sudden has the upper hand. And I will tell you that from the language, she's the authority in the relationship. From the language alone, she's got the upper hand going into this day. Now, I don't know about that day after the fact, but going into the day that we're talking about, up until they get to the hike, she is the authority.
Right. And the fact that she didn't actually have a physical affair, a lot of people say, well, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't justified. Not that it would be either way, but the mental part is really what is so important to the female brain. And for the guy brain to be betrayed like that, it's critical too.
I agree.
And they met up at that point. And I feel like that they were just having a dispute up there for whatever the reason, just like a normal couple dispute that escalated quickly. And I just don't know if she's fabricating part of it. And that would be really fucked up if she was, given all the time and the fact that they do have 2 young kids.
I know. I agree with you 100%. I don't know what to put there, so I put this name in since 2 pounds. Best mod, shout out to Denise Pelton. You are 100% correct. Denise, you're the greatest ever. She really is the best mod ever.
I see a lot of negative comments against me, but that's okay. I said never block anything negative against me, please, or anything.
You see negative comments? I don't see.
I'm joking.
Comments.
I'm sure. Let them go. I will not be Block Island Melanie Little. That's not my game. It's her game. It's fine.
So
nothing
funny.
wrong with it.
I like that. I like though. Melanie is true to who she is. Like, she doesn't front. She will tell you straight up, I don't like you, I'm going to block you. Like, she doesn't pretend to be something she's not. She's very clear on the front end. So I have a lot of respect for that. Like, she sticks to her guns. So
yeah, like she says, she never curses. She doesn't want to use foul language. I respect her for that.
At Hemavo sends $5. Is it plausible that the Commonwealth pushed her charges because a guilty verdict would block any future civil litigation from her? Is it plausible? I think, honestly, that the Commonwealth thought that they were like doing the right thing because they believed Noonan right from the beginning. They really wanted an attempted murder charge because they thought that Kelsey was trying to murder him. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I don't think it was because of the possibility of future litigation. I don't even think they were thinking that far ahead. I think they were simply believed Noonan, and because the lieutenant supported it right away, they had the mental health professional come in right away, they ran with it. And I even question Noonan telling his wife, like, this is a guy who I think immediately knew what he did was wrong, made the decision instantly to cover his own ass, stages the scene by putting a shoebox on top of the gun safe so that it looked as though because he screwed up twice. He screws up because he left Kelsey alone for too long. Enough time where she was able to go into the safe, open it, and grab the gun. But that safe was big, and in order for her to have been able to do that, it was too much time for him to still be in the room. So he had to put that shoebox on top of the gun safe so that it looks like she just did the Rambo She-Ra thing where she does the somersault onto the bed, grabs the gun, and then takes it out, and he says shoots at him with both hands, which is obviously not the case. I mean, it was absurd. It was just the most absurd rendition of events that anyone could come up with, but they believed him. And because somebody tried to shoot at one of their officers, it was like, we're the big shots who, because you tried to shoot at our officer, we don't care who you are, we're going to take you down. That's, I think, what happened here
and that's more plausible than worrying about any type of settlement. These cops don't care. I mean, generally you have qualified and even absolute immunity in some situations. The money to them is not a big deal. In fact, New York City pays out over $500 million a year annually based upon any type of police misconduct.
Really?
For lawsuits. Yeah, we pay an extraordinary amount. We've had a bunch of settlements for people that were roughed up by the cops. They don't care. It's not as if they're frivolous about it, but it's not their money, and they just believe that the state has a lot of money. So
it's crazy.
It's not a motive. So to answer the question, I don't believe that had anything to do with potentially limiting liability for a civil settlement.
No, I mean, I think if they had thought about it more, it could have been, but I don't think it was in this case. I think they just ran with the story that he gave them. Oh my God, Ruth Ann has been a member for 8 months. Ruth Ann, so we got a lot of good stuff coming up for members. And you mentioned it at the start, but we are going to be adding a call-in aspect to our show, which I am so excited about. If you guys have been with me from the beginning, you know that I've been trying to get a call-in show off the ground for a long time. And I have a question for you, Vince. I don't want to forget. At RC11, Firehorse sends $1.99. Higgy Bear says not interested. Not interested.
Interesting. I want to go back to listen to
Okay,
that.
I'm making my list. Not interested. Could very well be. Out of the question. So we've got not interested and out of the question.
Oh, someone said he said you're hot. Could that be?
I don't think it's what he said there, but
I love that they sent the female. You know, behind the scenes,
of course,
they had to come up with that plot.
Well, also they didn't want her to get shot. I mean, I think there was probably also not just increasing the chances, but also not making it a threatening person, because he is paranoid. And I will tell you that if a cop-like person he doesn't know was to show up on that lawn, would you be surprised if he came out with a gun?
No, not at all. It's crazy, but he's definitely watching, and I know why he's watching.
Well, so with that, I mean, you said this, and I agree with this 100%. The fact, my first thought when I heard that story that Aiden told us, which was after the verdict, that they just drove past the cul-de-sac. They didn't even like pull into his driveway. They just drove past the cul-de-sac, right? Drove past it. And
Right.
he was out there on the lawn and chasing them. When I heard that story, the first thought in my head was, this guy is so freaking paranoid. It's like he's been waiting for the last 3 years for Aiden to drive by. It's wild. Like, how do you, what do you have, cameras that alert you if, you know, a silver car, he must have cameras on the cul-de-sac.
Well, he has cameras, but he doesn't know who it is. And the fact that if someone slows down, he recognizes that fact. And generally, they wouldn't be going down his block unless they're going to either his house or someone else's. But
well, with the, you have to, though, turn around. You have to use the turnaround, right? So, I mean, theoretically, it could be anyone doing anything.
Right. And that's why he should not be trying to take the law into his own hands by chasing down people that are doing something that's completely law-abiding.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It was, but it does speak to the paranoia. And I think you were right. I think you pointed this out too. He appears to me to have gone into, I don't want to say hiding, but you know, he's keeping a very low profile, and it makes sense why, right? I mean, the guy is, you know, people know who he is.
Sam,
especially locally.
when I was in 9th grade English class, we had a substitute teacher, and you know how it is in the suburbs. He was probably 90 years old, and he whips out a guitar, and he's in a suit, which generally the teachers in our school weren't. And he sings this song, and I'll never forget the lyrics. I'm shaking, 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 shaking on the floor. PD car coming knocking on the door. And I still remember this. This is 30 years later. And the premise of the song was that the guy committed a crime, and the real anxiety starts when you're back at home. You're shaking on the floor, PD car coming knocking on my door. And after it, he flipped the guitar over, and I don't forget, he wrote in masking tape, "Thank you," because we applauded, because we were in English class. But the theme is there. The anxiety you have to feel when you're guilty must be overwhelming if you're not a psycho.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't think he's a complete psycho, Brian Higgins. So
no.
He's
No,
shaking,
right.
and when people come knocking random, that's got to scare the fuck out of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At Cheliquin08 sends $1.99. Does anyone wonder if Chris or Kevin were there? Yes. So immediately after the night, Chris is in a police report. Chris and his wife are in a police report saying that they were at 34 Fairview. However, they are found later to have not been. And if you watch the waterfall video very carefully, Chris is saying goodbye to everybody and is wasted. He's the last person to leave, and he lived literally a stone's throw from the bar. So it does appear as though he just walks home and kind of passes out at home. Julie did leave the waterfall early because she had a headache. She's gone early. So it appears that those two were not at the house. Kevin is at the house the next morning, but he wasn't there that night. There are questions about whether he shows up at the waterfall, but I don't think there's ever been any questions about whether he was inside the house on 34 Fairview at that time. People have speculated about other cops being there, like Mike Lank and Berkowitz even, but I've never actually heard anybody suggest Kevin was there. But he is there the next morning, without a doubt. Because Jen McCabe verifies that for us on the witness stand. So we thank Jen for that verification. At Bite My Vid sends $5. Scanlon was right about there not being Karen and the dog being involved. Why would he make up the Colin part? Oh, I don't think he made it up. I don't think he makes it up at all. In my opinion, he's telling the truth. He thinks that's what happened. The question is why? Does he think that based on what he knows about Brian Albert for the last 30 years and his nephew being a punk kid, or does he know that because somebody who was at the house heard that directly? We don't know.
The reason he inserts Colin is potentially for a motive. What he didn't know was the love affair in Brian Higgins' mind and Karen going on, which most of the people didn't know. So you can make this type of speculation with what information he had from the public court appearance, but he had no idea that there was one person with a huge motive, and the only person with a motive that was there. But it was impossible for him to know that Brian Higgins had a motive at that time because Karen didn't disclose it to anybody yet.
And neither did he.
Well, obviously.
But the other thing I will say is that from what I understand, people in town, I don't know why they believe this, but people in town and early on, and some of the cops believe that actually Brian Higgins was not the aggressor, was involved, but more in a defensive way, like he was involved with getting the dog, something after the fact and less directly. But again, who knows? It's very hard to suss out, like, did Scanlon have a direct relationship with somebody that told him because they heard it from Colin or from somebody else? Or did they just invent it? And I have a hard time believing that Colin is like running his mouth about whatever happened. But you know what? Who the hell knows? We don't know. That's the bottom line. We just don't know.
I do want to cite that there are still people that are standing outside of CF McCarthy's every Friday. That's John's partner that we did the show on. He was having a little technical issues going on, but I appreciate those types of things where people are still caring enough to do that. So I want to thank them for that. And eventually, when we get our
protesting, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know if they're protesting. They're just out there being visible, right? Maybe John, when he comes on our show, he can clue us in. But like the intricacies of that neighborhood is so great because John knows all these people. Like I didn't know half the things that he knows, right? So that they still are standing outside CF McCarthy's every Friday, and for whatever the purpose, but to keep awareness going. Because if we don't do these shows and if we don't put out the videos, then this would die, right? It would eventually. I know we have the civil case coming, but it's important that we keep this going.
Of course, there's got to be pressure.
Right, there has to be. And there's been so much benefit to Karen's side by all of us in this community going through every single thing that we get our hands on. And you think about, like, Corey Hopkins was able to get the whole goddamn file, and now we're all analyzing. Like, it is so beneficial. That's exactly what a large firm would do. And they don't have the capacity to do it, especially during the trials. But now, I mean, we can. And we have to keep the pressure going with this.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Songbits Laura for 9 months has been a member. Yay, Songbits. Agree. Aluza enabled by sister and mother. Oh yeah, and even pushed, not even enabled, like pushed by sister and mother. It sounds like two sisters also. Sound like a class act group for sure. At Fiona2140 sends $5 Australian. Have you shown the Run Man baby clip? Oh yes. Yes, I showed it in the open. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world. I love the Run Man baby clip. It's absolutely hilarious. Because to me, and the reason why that's so funny, it's even funnier because of the fact that this is somebody who like is a trained, first responder. And there's no he immediately thinks it's like Kelsey's dad is in the house. Like, it's just so funny.
I don't blame him though. I'm a big pansy. I would have done the same thing. I would have ran.
But you
right
are not
out
a
of
trained
there.
firefighter with
Not
a
real man.
child who's on the scene.
Yeah, it is
Right?
true. So you're running away, but your kid is still there.
Well, the kid was outside, but he doesn't know. He has no idea. Like, he doesn't know where the kid is. He doesn't know where his sister is. He doesn't know where Kelsey is. He doesn't know anything about what's going on. He just hears it and it's hilarious to watch him run like that. It's just so funny. And then the mother, when you see the mother, which is devastating to see that the mom is watching him and she's clearly trying to figure out what the hell was that, what just happened. The whole thing.
It
was
does
really
show you how
sad,
much tougher women are than men, because that mom is at the scene when he's running away. She's hearing the same thing, right?
Of course. She actually hears
I don't
Kelsey,
know.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember in his testimony if he says that. I think he does say he heard him yell something, but I don't remember what it was. You guys might remember more than me. Lion Mom 3520 sends $4.99. The footage of him tripping and running for his life, leaving his kid, fiance, and sister in the house says it all. Exactly. This is a firefighter who spends all day ducking outside of his parents' house to smoke weed, even though he's the sole custodial parent for his son, who he called the kid on the phone while he's trying to get the restraining order, which should have been our first clue. But yeah,
if you had it, would you date Justin or Brian Higgins if you were single and you had to date one?
I would not date Justin. Justin is an absolute loser. It would be no world where Justin Elaine would be somebody that absolute no world. He's
so Brian
beyond
Higgins
a
you would
loser.
date?
If I had to pick between the two, absolutely. Wouldn't even be close. At least Brian Higgins protects his house and he's kills
any guys that like you.
I guess so. I mean, Justin Elaine is a mama's boy who just. I also have a little bit of a bias against weed. I cannot stand the smell of it. I don't care if people smoke it, but I don't want it in my home. And this guy is smoking pot constantly, all day, every day. I just don't like the smell.
Really?
I don't want
You
it
look
around
like
me.
a weed girl. I mean, I don't know anything about your
Yeah.
drug use, but I've never done an illegal drug in my life. So I never smoked weed, never done the stupid gummies, nothing. But you're
Yeah,
anti.
I mean, I'm not anti. I just don't want it in my house. That's what I would say. I don't want it in my house. Like I said, some people like the smell, all that. When I was 14, I might have liked the smell, but now it's not something that I want around me at all. But in my home,
Gotcha.
like I said, other people want to smoke. I have no problem with it. I care less. I just don't want it in my house. That's the way I feel about it. And he is smoking all day. He also packed, I guess it was mushrooms or acid on the bachelorette weekend, and he put it in Kelsey's bag, and she was really upset because she's like, "I'm a police officer. What are you doing?" Anyway, yeah. Luza at Sacred Justice sends $9.99. Sam, check Megan Walsh, daughter of John Walsh. He took 4 kids away, and the last one was a 5-day rip from her arms. She was on the show several times. Would love for you to eval her. What happened?
Megan Walsh. So John Walsh did that show, America's Most Wanted, I believe.
He took her 4 kids away, and the last one was a 5-day-old baby ripped from her arms. Jesus Christ, that sounds traumatizing beyond, right? Why?
If we're in
What
that
was
temporary restraining order position, again, I don't know.
Yeah, you got to know. I mean, we have to know obviously a lot more
right.
about it. I'm writing it down. I'll definitely look into it because I have no idea. That sounds insane. Yeah, it does seem like a systemic error that could have been easily circumvented by, competent people who are involved and not just law enforcement determinants, right? That's my feeling.
That dude had such a unique look. It wasn't a bad look. It wasn't a good look. The cop that testified, that shot Kelsey. Right? I was looking at him. It's something, something like very unique about this look. Like he had the beard. And I don't know why I just judge people
He
on
to
their
me
looks.
looks like he's Irish and Italian, and he's very Catholic, and it doesn't. Nothing about it seems unique, but I understand what you're saying.
Like you don't see many guys with a gray beard at that age, besides Santa Claus.
Well, he was. I think because he was blonde, he kind of gets away with it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. He just looked older and more mature, I guess, than he was. I don't know.
He is. He's 50 years old. No, he is older and
Okay.
more mature. He's been at this a very long time, and that's what I mean. He knows better, and I think he's probably not a bad guy, but made a bad decision is really what happened here. And then ran with it.
Yeah, I didn't understand that part, the running part, until you're telling me today. I almost feel bad about making fun of Emily, but good job.
At Christine Mitchell 3565 sends £5. Sam, I believe John was in the family room and hit his head on the brick fireplace. You and me both, Christine. We are in that boat together. And once I'm very well aware. I have two things that I have to get back to as soon as I can. One is pursuing this very question vis-a-vis the testimony of Sarah Levinson. So that is something that I have on my list of things that I have to do. I also promised that I would take a closer look at the, what's his name? Melton, the testimony of the boyfriend in the Faust case.
Okay.
I can't remember all the details right now, but the man who was falsely, most people believe, falsely accused of murdering some girl he didn't even know.
Yeah, that guy was a wacko. The one that testified, the boyfriend. I don't want to say wacko.
The boyfriend.
There was some weird things going on. I don't know if he's just naturally that weird or he's guilty, but it was so odd. I was getting so many indicators of deception from him, just an overall vibe of that. Yeah, I remember.
I know.
This was one of the cross-examinings that I did watch.
Yeah, no, I've seen it a few times. So definitely, I owe you guys that. I've said I would do it, but I am going to continue to explore this, Christine, because I am with you 100%, and I think this is most likely this is what happened, in my opinion. That is my opinion, but most likely that is what happened, and everybody saw it, or everybody knows about it. Tragically. At Spirit Seeker Squad sends $2. Wasn't it that Kevin was the Ford that Lucky saw?
Yeah, people had said that it was Kevin Albert's Ford Edge. Again, I don't know whose it was, and I'm pretty sure it was a white Ford Edge that Lucky said he saw.
Yeah, but I thought it was gray, but again, I have no idea. No idea at all. I just want to make sure we got everybody. Did I get everybody here? I think I did. Yay, I got everybody.
3 hours. Good job. It was fun to see you back in. I want to thank you for not abandoning me just because I made a few jokes about that Kelsey case.
No,
I know you're good at juggling crazy Italians. Okay, yeah, I didn't know.
I'm pretty good at juggling crazy Italians. That is for sure.
Thank God for
that is definitely an area of expertise of mine, but especially this weekend, because that is exactly what I was doing this weekend. Just to give you an idea, there's a restaurant called Goodfellas in New Jersey, and that's where a lot of the memorabilia from the movie is. My cousin was an extra in the movie, and that is where our afternoon after the funeral, like the actual services, we all went and met. And so I was definitely around many what you might consider crazy Italians yesterday. Yeah.
Well, you're around one today.
All
We'll
right.
be back in 1 week.
We'll be back.
even
So
closer.
I will see you guys Wednesday night. We will be back, and hopefully we will have a call-in show very soon. I am super excited about it. Vince, I will see you. Have a beautiful week. Everybody, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Denise. You're the best mod in the whole world. We love you guys. Thanks to everybody for your support. We will
the
see
defense
you
counselor's
very
duty
soon. Have a
to
great
protect
day,
the
everybody.
rights of the individual, as it is the prosecution's duty to uphold and defend the laws of the state. Justice for all. we have a problem here.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
This is me reminding you to like this video, comment, subscribe, like this video.